The mythical empire of civilization. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226, Jiang Rong's terrifying strength. The reason why the 30 wizards recruited for the plan to capture dinosaurs this time were so smooth and fast was because Qin Yu gave a reward of 1 golden jade every 15 days. Moreover, during the capture process, the reward for those with excellent numbers will be doubled, tripled, or even tripled. Therefore, as soon as this was said, many members of the witch hall rushed to come, believing that everyone would work very hard in the process of capturing dinosaurs later. And the reward they received was the power of faith contributed by many tribesmen who worshipped the king's tripod every day. The tribesmen provided strength, and they captured dinosaurs to enhance the strength of civilization so as to better protect the tribesmen and the tribe, while the wizards who received golden jade improved their strength and understanding of witchcraft, and made great progress in the subsequent civilization improvement and strength. This is equivalent to 1 or more cycles. No matter which one, the ultimate goal is to make the civilization stronger and develop further. This wave, Qin Yu can be said to have won, but in fact he did not pay any price. Early the next morning, the valley named Longjiang Valley by Qin Yu began to become crowded and lively. A large number of craftsmen began to work, and the prototypes of the passes at the valley entrances on the east and west sides of the valley gradually emerged. A large number of soldiers patrolled back and forth at the 2 valley entrances. Ji led the wolf cavalry to wander around, go out hunting and training, and occasionally discuss the training experience with Shigu. Qin Yu led the dragon tiger guards and the people of the witch hall to capture dinosaurs and other beasts. According to Qin Yu's idea, carnivorous dinosaurs such as Carcharodontosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, Giganotosaurus, barbarian dragon, and bull dragon are the most suitable mounts for dinosaur cavalry. One of the advantages of these dinosaurs is that carnivorous dinosaurs are more ferocious, and the other is that their bodies are not too low or too high, so they are suitable as cavalry mounts. Cavalry with carnivorous dinosaurs as mounts are also more suitable for fighting on the battlefield, and they all have good ferocity. Herbivorous dinosaurs are relatively docile. Some of them are either small or too large, and are not suitable as mounts. The Triceratops among the herbivorous dinosaurs is barely suitable, and can be mainly used to charge the infantry phalanx. The running speed of Triceratops is not fast, nor is it slow, but its collision ability is absolutely qualified. Therefore, it can be used to create a cavalry to tear apart the enemy's formation. Secondly, the Ankylosaur is short, but its individual combat power is good, which is suitable for defensive cavalry, individual combat, etc. The next is a Velociraptor. Although the Velociraptor is slightly small, it can be placed in the animal pen and slowly cultivated, and its size will double, or even 1.5 times or even twice as large. After cultivation, the Velociraptor is extremely suitable for cavalry of normal strength. The height is almost the same as that of an excellent warhorse, but it has good ferocity and combat power. Horses do not have it. The ferocious Velociraptor is not easily frightened by the Murderosaur on the battlefield, so it is also a good choice. In addition, there is the Pterosaur. The larger pterosaur has a wingspan of 10 to 13 meters, which is very suitable as a mount for air troops. For Qin Yu, this world of dinosaur civilization is really a huge and tempting treasure. The army created by powerful prehistoric creatures will eventually be invincible on the battlefield. In addition, there are mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, mosasaurs, giant crocodiles, giant apes, etc. Qin Yu can even form a giant beast army, and just looking at it can make the enemy terrified and afraid before the battle. In one day, Qin Yu led more than 200 people to wander around the entire mountain range. No matter what creatures they saw, they would catch them first. Jiang Rong, come here, let me see your current strength. Qin Yu pointed to a Tyrannosaurus Rex lying down and sleeping a few dozen meters in front and said. Jiang Rong nodded slightly and walked forward slowly. The breeze was in his ears, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex, who was lying down and resting, raised his eyelids and slowly opened a pair of huge eyes. A pair of vertical pupils stared at the tiny human race walking in front, with some confusion in his expression. How dare the insects, that can be crushed to death with 1 foot, dare to come close? It looked up and looked around. Something is wrong. 12 out of 10 are wrong. There must be more insects around here who want to ambush him, and the one in front of him is just a bait. The smart Tyrannosaurus Rex slowly got up. Roar! A huge roar resounded through the forest, causing a commotion. The nearby creatures were so scared that they fled in all directions, thinking that the Tyrannosaurus Rex wanted to hunt for dinner. Jiang Rong looked at the Tyrannosaurus Rex standing up and staring at him, and slowly raised his right hand. A burst of golden light quickly spread out. Vine binding technique. Jiang Rong instantly used the most basic law witchcraft. A thick golden vine quickly emerged from the ground around the Tyrannosaurus Rex and slowly wrapped around it. Roar! Another roar. The angry Tyrannosaurus Rex twisted its body vigorously, and its huge mouth instantly bit off the vines wrapped around it, and then it tore it hard, and the vines on its body instantly broke into pieces. Jiang Rong's eyes and expression did not change. Only 1/30th of the power was consumed. After he estimated the consumption of the lowest level witchcraft just now, he immediately had an idea in his mind. Intermediate entanglement technique. His consciousness moved, and a dazzling light suddenly appeared in his right hand again. The ground beneath the Tyrannosaurus Rex's feet trembled slightly, and this time 3 thick golden vines instantly broke out of the ground and tied up the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Tyrannosaurus Rex struggled hard, but this time the binding force was several times that of the primary entanglement technique, and even with its great strength, it was difficult to break free. The many wizards in the witch hall behind him were immediately surprised. The hall master can actually engrave a more complex witchcraft spiritual seal on the spirit seed in such a short time. They have been in the witch hall for nearly 2 months, and so far they have only engraved a primary entanglement technique. Without the jade slip record, they can only rely on countless trial and error to slowly engrave a witchcraft spiritual seal on the spirit seed. The average time for the entire witch hall to engrave the primary entanglement technique is 1 month. If the jade slip that records the engraving route of the witchcraft spiritual seal is used, then if it is assumed that it takes 1 month, using the jade slip with the reference of predecessors, it will only take 7 to 15 days to successfully engrave. These two are equivalent to one requiring you to use your brain to solve the problem, and the other is to put the problem solving process and the answer in front of you, and you just need to copy it. However, since the ancient book on making jade slips has just been translated recently, the jade slips have not yet been popularized in the witch hall. The fight between a man and a beast in front of him once again caused a huge commotion, attracting everyone's attention. This huge Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is 4 meters tall and more than 9 meters long, actually broke free from the intermediate entanglement technique with its iron beacon steel teeth, as well as its terrifying power. Chapter 227 Qin Yu Tribe Mining Team. Advanced Entanglement Technique. Seeing the Tyrannosaurus Rex that had broken free, Jiang Rong's expression turned cold, and his right hand instantly emitted a more dazzling light. The surrounding ground trembled, and thick vines suddenly grew out of the ground under the Tyrannosaurus Rex's feet. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. 9 thick vines with a diameter of nearly 1 meter tied up the Tyrannosaurus Rex tightly. The moment the Tyrannosaurus Rex was tied up, it could not move. There was almost no gap in its body. It was tied up tightly, and even its mouth was sealed. Everyone was shocked again. Such a young hall master had already engraved 3 witchcrafts, and each one was more complicated and more powerful than the last. Jiang Rong silently felt a consumption in his body. Using 3 different levels of witchcrafts probably consumed nearly 2/10 of his spiritual energy. Jiang Rong, do you have any means of attack? Try it, Qin Yu said. Jiang Rong hesitated for a moment and then said, yes, take a look. After the words fell, Jiang Rong slowly took out a copper staff. This copper staff is no more than 1 meter long, and on the top is a piece of thunder copper. This thunder copper is naturally different from ordinary thunder copper ore. The copper content is very dense and the density is very high, which is considered a piece of refined copper. In addition, the content of thunder essence is also very high, almost dyeing the entire copper stone purple, and there are many lightning patterns throughout it. This is considered a new witch weapon he has researched not long ago. Looking at the copper staff that Jiang Rong took out, Qin Yu couldn't help but show an expectant look. Qin Yu knew about the witch weapon he had researched, and that's why he said that just now. Because some time ago, Jiang Rong found him and wanted to watch and study the elemental turret, saying that he wanted to see if he could copy some abilities from it. Qin Yu agreed immediately after hearing this, and he didn't expect that Jiang Rong would really tinker with it soon. This witch weapon has several abilities. One is that it can inject spiritual energy to increase the power of the witch weapon, and it can also convert spiritual energy into lightning energy. The second is that it can release two kinds of lightning attacks. One is the lightning arrow, and the other is the thunderstorm bomb. The power is definitely not as strong as the turret. After all, Jiang Rong only integrated some of the running marks into the witch weapon, which gave it these abilities. In addition, if there is a thunderstorm, this witch weapon can also act as a lightning rod, attracting lightning and then absorbing lightning to make the quality of the witch weapon higher. Of course, it is also possible to be directly damaged by lightning. Jiang Rong looked at the Tyrannosaurus Rex that was tied up and unable to move. He moved his consciousness and a spiritual energy was infused into the copper staff. Then some of the inscriptions on it slowly lit up a purple light, and the lightning patterns continued to condense, like countless slender purple tentacles constantly wandering. The Tyrannosaurus Rex felt a fatal threat and immediately began to struggle more violently. The vines around it became loose, but then they shrank more tightly. At this moment, the slender purple lightning arrow slowly condensed, and then there was a buzzing sound, and a sharp sound of breaking through the air came. The swift lightning arrow instantly penetrated the chest and abdomen of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and a big hole was blown out of the internal organs and bones, and the surrounding area became charred. With a bang, dust flew around. The whole dragon slowly lost its breath and collapsed to the ground completely. I just let you try the power. It's a pity that you killed it. Qin Yu sighed and walked up. However, the power of this magic weapon is really extraordinary. You have made great contributions. You can ask me for some rewards you want after you go back. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu changed into a joyful expression and patted Jiang Rong on the shoulder to show his appreciation. The people behind came forward one after another, and some wizards even looked at Jiang Rong with a little admiration in their eyes. As expected, he is worthy of being the witch master of the witch hall, and he has indeed a few more brushes than them. It's getting late. Let's go back and catch whatever we encounter on the way. Qin Yu's voice fell, and everyone began to move in the direction of returning. Dragon Valley. Outside a cave at the west end of the valley. At this time, a team of more than 50 primitive people slowly approached. They were all dressed in animal skins, carrying some bone tools, and walked forward carelessly. The sun is about to set. We have to hurry. There shouldn't be too much copper ore. Let everyone be quick when moving it later. The leader of the group gave a few instructions. The team began to speed up. The faces of the patrolling in front look a little unfamiliar. The little leader of the team was stunned and said, "Do any of you know them?" Everyone looked at them and shook their heads immediately. No one knew them. Something's wrong. The little leader frowned. He carefully approached and looked for a long time and found that there were only 5 or 6 people around the cave, and what they were wearing and holding in their hands was out of tune with their Qin Yu tribe. Oh no. Could it be that other tribes have occupied our mine? The little leader exclaimed. Everyone was surprised. Leader, there is no one in the whole mountain range who dares to provoke our Qin Yu tribe. The little leader's eyes turned, and after thinking for a while, he said, there are only 5 or 6 people in front. Let's rush up and capture a few, and then go back to the tribe, to slowly interrogate the situation inside. After hearing this, everyone agreed and followed the little leader to sneak up. Kill. The little leader suddenly shouted. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Sharp arrows shot out from the dense jungle along with the shouting. The little leader who just shouted was instantly shot to death. There were only more than 50 people, and they were shot to the ground in less than a few rounds, all dead. Shigu slowly walked out of the cave. At the same time, hundreds of sharpshooters emerged from the dense forest. Ji heard the noise and hurried over with the wolf riders. I'm afraid that the Qin Yu tribe will find out that the valley has been occupied soon. Shigu looked at the corpses around and couldn't help but judge. G nodded. The ore transporters are late. They will definitely find out. If you want revenge, hurry up and train the team of new soldiers given to you by the tribe leader. After that, G led the wolf riders to explore the surroundings, gradually walked to the edge of the plains and mountains, and returned again after seeing that there was no one around. Shigu returned to the valley to continue training new soldiers. Since the so-called dinosaur cavalry does not have dinosaurs at present, Shigu, in addition to imparting some theoretical experience, relies on the training method mentioned by G to train soldiers. The main thing is that the dragons captured by Qin Yu cannot be used directly, but need to be domesticated in the animal pen first. After successful domestication, they will be used as mounts for the dinosaur cavalry. After all, if you only rely on Shigu's domestication method, you can't avoid being attacked by dinosaurs on the way, causing casualties. But the animal pen will not. The dinosaurs domesticated in the animal pen will not reduce their ferocity, but will obey the master of the dragon tribe. Chapter 228 Assault. That night, when Qin Yu returned with the dragon hunting team, he learned that the mining team of the Qin Yu tribe had been wiped out. The Western Valley exit has been guarded more in recent days, and more secret sentries have been set up. The cordon has been spread 2 miles away, which will facilitate ambushes. The defense of the valley will be left to G. Qin Yu looked at G, who jumped off the wolf's back and said. G bowed slightly and responded, I understand. Qin Yu nodded slightly. Smoke rose from the piles of bonfires in the valley, surrounded by green trees and mist. The slaves and tribesmen who had worked all day enjoyed a dinner with different treatments, but everyone was satisfied. Today, Qin Yu and the dragon hunting team had a good harvest. 7 Tyrannosaurus rex were caught alone, and more than 40 velociraptors, 12 triceratops, 6 ankylosaurs, 14 barbarian dragons, 9 stegosaurus. After all the calculations, the number of dinosaurs caught today was actually about 100. Qin Yu returned to Qin Yu civilization that night and put the harvested dinosaurs from the demon control bag into the animal pen. Then he learned about the recent situation from C2 and the construction problems in Nanwang town. Generally speaking, everything is on the right track and developing steadily, and there are no accidents. The Museo clan in the western border is now fighting with the Western Days. Many forces have united to seize a piece of land in the grassland. The Museo clan is in a state of instability. Qin Yu is happy about it. It is best to fight to the point of both sides being injured. After dealing with some trivial matters here, Qin Yu returned to his patriarch's wooden house and had a good sleep. He returned to the dinosaur civilization world early the next morning. Seeing that the tribesmen and slaves around him had already started work, Qin Yu took the dragon catching team to continue going out to catch dinosaurs. When the Qin Yu tribe, which was 100 miles away, found that the mining team had gone and never returned, it immediately sent out a second mining team. Perhaps because of their confidence in this area, they did not think that the valley was occupied by other tribes. According to the decision of the top leaders, most people thought that the team of 50 people might have been attacked by prehistoric creatures and all died. The second team they sent out was different. Not only did they have more than 100 people, but everyone was holding bronze weapons. And there were 8 domesticated bull dragons escorting the team. After several hours of rushing, this mining team with a high military value slowly arrived at a distance of 500 meters outside the cave exit of the valley. It was safe and sound along the way, and there were almost no attacks by wild beasts. Therefore, when they were about to reach the destination, everyone was relatively relaxed. Leader, let's be careful. What if they were not attacked by wild beasts? Besides, even if they were attacked by wild beasts, how could no one come back? A tall and strong man holding a bronze sword spoke up. The leader of the team beside him waved his hand with a slightly unhappy expression and said, "Who do you think you are? How dare you question the decision of the chieftain and his people?" The leader silently criticized the man beside him, and then told everyone to be alert in a deep voice. By the way, he also consolidated his authority in the team. As everyone continued to move forward, the surrounding trees and green plants gradually became denser. Roar. Several bull dragons began to make uneasy low roars. The instinct of the beasts told them that there were malicious things around. Everyone be careful. Anyone who can become a leader, even a small leader, is naturally not a fool. Seeing the reaction of the tamed bull dragon, he immediately found something abnormal. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, just as everyone looked around, sharp arrows shot out from the jungle. Puff. As the arrows accurately hit everyone in the team, one by one, the warriors of the Qin Yu tribe fell down. The leader of the team waved the bronze sword in his hand to sweep away the arrows and shouted, "Enemy attack! Disperse!" The sharpshooters hiding in the forest silently searched for the target and then suddenly drew the bow and arrow and shot the arrows accurately into the enemy's body as if they had eyes. More than 100 people soon suffered nearly 1/3 of casualties. Seeing that the situation was not right, the little leader hurriedly shouted, "Retreat! Retreat the original way." Many panicked warriors, hearing the voice, seemed to have a backbone and hurriedly followed the leader to turn around and run away. A woo a woo a woo, a series of rapid and powerful wolf howls suddenly sounded from the front. The eyes of the fleeing people were stunned, and they saw that in the direction of their escape, a large number of enemies riding giant black wolves were rushing over quickly. The strong man in the lead held a fine iron horse lance, and the giant wolf under his crotch was even more majestic. The whole team revealed a strong murderous aura. The fleeing people only took a few glances, and their faces were filled with horror. "Kill! Don't spare any!" Ji shouted, and the horse lance in his hand chopped towards the neck of the leader in front. The man quickly raised the bronze sword in his hand and stepped forward to resist. Bang! A sound of metal clashing rang out, and a huge force came, and the man's knuckles suddenly cracked, and blood flowed out. The bronze sword in his hand was shaken off, and the sharp iron lance also chopped off his head. The morale of the remaining enemies fell to the bottom after the leader died. Seeing that the wolf cavalry was going to fight, ZHU, who was hiding in the distance, hurriedly led people out and shouted, "The clan leader has ordered that those who surrender will not be killed." With this shout, more than 50 people participating in the battle immediately dropped their weapons and squatted on the ground, and many wolf cavalry also stopped their actions. Ji looked at ZHU with an unhappy look. Zua explained with a smile, "These are all laborers that can be used for mining. It would be a pity to kill them. General Ji, please understand." After the explanation, Zhu led people to escort the captured slaves to the location of the mine and told everyone to mine well and left to continue to deal with the problem of city defense construction. Time passed until the evening. Qin Yu hurried back with the dragon catching team. Seeing this, Zua couldn't help but ask in doubt, "Chief, what happened?" Qin Yu took a deep breath and then slowly explained. Originally, he was catching giant beasts in this mountain range with a dragon catching team. Later, he heard a lot of noise coming from the depths of the mountains. Qin Yu, who liked to join in the fun, was curious and led everyone to that side. On the way, they encountered a large number of dinosaurs and giant beasts, and the harvest was quite good. Even more than 20 Tyrannosaurus Rex were caught, not to mention other kinds of giant beasts. But as they went deeper and deeper, the number of giant beasts they encountered became more terrifying. Chapter 229, Seeking the Fire Element. There were so many dinosaurs that there were thousands of them running wildly. Fortunately, everyone was only slightly frightened. Qin Yu used the power of the king's cauldron to build a golden vine wall that was like a natural moat, forcing many giant beasts to another direction. In this way, a major casualty was avoided. But as everyone went deeper and deeper, they soon understood why so many dinosaurs were fleeing collectively. Volcanic eruption. That's right, there is a volcano in a mountainous area deep in the mountains. Qin Yu, who knew the dangers, looked at the erupting volcanic lava flow and hurriedly ran back with the team. This is why everyone was panting and embarrassed. After hearing this, the expression of it changed and said in a deep voice, "Chief, are we safe here? Is it possible that we will be affected?" Qin Yu shook his head. "No, the volcano has almost stopped erupting at this time and will not spread anymore." Although it was thrilling, there was no fear in Qin Yu's eyes, and there was excitement in his expression. Discovering a volcano is not a bad thing. On the contrary, it is a great thing. Qin Yu's dragon head element turret comes with a fire element magazine that stores 100% elemental energy. He has never been willing to use it because he has no place to replenish the fire element. But now that he has encountered a volcano, the magma in it may be able to extract the fire element. Although the power of the thunder element is amazing, Some uses of the fire element are absolutely irreplaceable by the thunder element. In addition to a burst of surprise, ZHU also informed him of the news that the Qin Yu tribe sent a second mining team today. Qin Yu nodded slightly and said, I believe they will find out something wrong this time and send more troops, but it takes the second time to wake up. The leader of the other side is also a drunkard. During the recent period, strengthen the defense work and take turns to guard at night. Tell G not to be careless. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he notified everyone to start a fire and cook. In the valley, curling smoke rose, and the rich aroma filled the air. Dinner was delicious fish porridge and roasted venison. As for the fine wine, only a few high-ranking officials could taste it. Others could buy it, but the high price meant few or no one would buy it. A pound of white wine required 100 small dragon copper coins. Scarcity makes things valuable, and that's true. For most people, it's better to go to a restaurant 7 or 8 times and have a few good meals than to spend 100 copper coins on a pound of white wine. At present, white wine is a top luxury for the dragon tribe, and only some officials and officers with very high salaries can taste it. It will take some time for the wine in the winner-making building to be brewed, and it cannot be put on the market in the short term. Qin Yu didn't like to drink porridge, so he held a roasted venison leg in his left hand and a can of wine in his right hand, enjoying his dinner happily. If you can have a soft big bed after dinner, with a beautiful woman to sleep with, that's what life is. After dinner, the valley fell into silence, with only a few torches flickering occasionally, which were the soldiers responsible for night watch patrolling. The next morning, Qin Yu tribe. This is a low-level primitive civilization without a city wall. They live around a green lake. Over time, with the development of time, animal skin tents, stone houses and wooden houses are scattered all over the lake. The name of Qin Yu tribe came from this. Located in a stone house building near the lake, the chief of Qin Yu tribe and several elders frowned and discussed matters inside. For 2 consecutive days, the mining team has not returned. Something must have happened in the valley. A burly man is the chief of Qin Yu tribe. Generally speaking, for a tribal group, the most courageous person is also the most suitable to be the chief. After hearing this, an elder of the tribe could not help but speculate. Could there be a beast tied over there? It's unlikely. If it was true, it would have affected the tribe long ago. Another elderly man shook his head and denied it. I'll bring thousands of the bravest warriors in the tribe. Who cares what he is? Just kill him directly. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe said fiercely. No, if you don't know the situation, you can't rashly send out a large number of warriors. If something unexpected happens, the impact on the Qin Yu tribe will be unimaginable. So let's send someone to find out the situation first. An old man with a high status in the tribe said. After the voice fell, everyone agreed and finally decided to send dozens of warriors in the tribe to find out the situation. The next day, after Qin Yu received a report from his subordinates saying that many sneaky people were found near the West Valley entrance, he knew what was going on. The reason why Qin Yu did not choose to take the initiative to attack was mainly for Shigu's growth. If he could avenge himself, it would be very helpful for his growth. Secondly, the army he trained also needed a bloody experience in the end, before it could become a strong army. Qin Yu left him about a month. Qin Yu couldn't afford to waste too much time, as he had other things to do. If Qin Yu took the Dragon Tribe army to attack, it would probably take less than a day to defeat and occupy the Qin Yu tribe. Just talking about the equipment of their tribe, leather armor is rare, most people are still wearing animal skins, and the weapons in their hands are uneven. Although there are bronze weapons, you can tell how powerful they are by looking at the forging level. Qin Yu even tried it, and the overall quality was relatively rough, not very sharp, and some weapons were a bit soft. After all, one is a substandard bronze forged by a messy ratio of tin and copper, and the weapons made are naturally not much better. The weapons used by Qin Yu's side are thunder copper with a very high degree of strength. Perhaps it is the thunder and lightning power contained in this ore, which has been tempered by thunder and lightning, and has become extremely hard. Putting aside the matter of the Qin Yu tribe, Qin Yu's thoughts can't help but think of the fire element. Today he took people to the direction of the volcanic eruption to check it out. The magma outside has dried up, and large areas of trees nearby have collapsed due to the giant beasts galloping. At this time, many dinosaurs had gathered nearby, so if you want to go to the volcano, you need two conditions. First, spend a lot of manpower to move the tree obstacles, and second, drive away the surrounding dinosaurs, or kill and capture them. However, the current focus is still on the construction of the city defense in the valley, so Qin Yu cannot immediately take the tribesmen over to clear the obstacles. And the migration of a large number of people is also likely to cause casualties. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230, Capturing Pterosaurs. The troops in the valley were not easy to move. After all, the Qin Yu tribe was about to seize the valley, and there were no suitable idle troops for Qin Yu to mobilize from Langcheng. Secondly, mobilizing troops was not something that could be done by waving his hand and giving a few orders. In fact, it was quite troublesome. After all, the new cities and towns of the dragon tribe were being built and gradually completed recently, and troops had to be mobilized for defense. There were already nearly 3,000 troops in Langjiang Valley, and it was not easy to increase them. Just as Qin Yu was thinking, Yao Zhan ran over from a distance and shouted at the same time, "Chief, there are flying giant beasts in the east." Qin Yu was stunned. Could it be a pterosaur? But whether it was or not, Qin Yu was very interested in the flying giant beast. In order to prevent the giant beast from running away, Qin Yu hurriedly shouted and ordered, "Gather the dragon catching team and set off to the east. Hurry up." As soon as the voice fell, Yao Zhan summoned 200 dragon and tiger guards, and Jiang Rong also brought 30 wizards to gather at the east entrance of the valley. Yao Zhan leads the way. "We'll hurry over." Qin Yu waved his hand. Yao Zhan led a few people in front, and the others followed closely behind. The team headed towards the eastern mountains, intending to find the flying beasts. Just now, Qin Yu tribe. In a stone house near the lake, many Qin Yu tribe leaders gathered again. I found out that the valley over there was really robbed by people from other tribes. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe slammed his big hands on the table and said angrily. After hearing this, two of the elders immediately showed an expression of expectation on their faces. How many people are there on the other side? Do they have domesticated dinosaurs? What weapons do they use? Do you know everything? According to several warriors in the tribe, there are many warriors riding wolves on the other side, and their weapons are also bronze. Their bows and arrows are very accurate, and they can shoot much farther than us. The number of people is not clear. The minerals in that valley are vital to our tribe and cannot be lost. Several elders had different opinions. Let me lead the army to kill and take back the valley. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe pounded the table with his fist. Finally, after a heated discussion, everyone decided that the chief of the Qin Yu tribe would lead 2,000 troops to seize the valley. The 2,000 troops also included more than 100 warriors riding various domesticated dinosaurs, more than 200 archers with wooden bows and arrows with a range of 40 to 50 meters, more than 900 warriors holding bronze weapons, and the rest were ordinary warriors holding bone tools, stone tools, etc. A full 2,000 troops. Some of the people present had a look of victory, while others were deeply worried. If they were defeated this time, the weakening of the Qin Yu tribe would reach a terrifying level, and it would also affect the survival of the tribe in the future. The primitive tribes in prehistoric times lived in an extremely dangerous and unstable era. It can be said that one thought could lead to life, and one thought could lead to death. No one knew which would come first, tomorrow or an accident. To the east of the Qin Yu tribe, the densely packed warriors in the tribe were running from all directions. Let 500 tribesmen carry 3 days worth of food and march with the team. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe had fought more than 10 wars, both large and small, so he had some common sense in leading troops. As the army slowly gathered, the chief of the Qin Yu tribe looked at the densely packed team in front and shouted loudly, "The mine valley that the tribe relied on to become stronger was taken away by the enemy. That is an important resource we rely on for survival, and the enemy doesn't want us to survive. Then let's fight." Just a few concise words immediately caused everyone to shout in anger. Fight. 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 The chief of the Qin Yu tribe looked at the crowd roaring to the sky, and his heart was suddenly full of confidence. The whole army is going. As the chief of the Qin Yu tribe finished speaking, the entire army of more than 2,500 people began to march eastward. Although the team was not in order, everyone was excited, and their morale was commendable. On the other side, in the east of the mountain range, Qin Yu led everyone to chase all the way to an open air location. "Chief, those giant birds just ran to the vicinity and landed." Yaozan pointed around and said, "That's called a pterosaur." Qin Yu corrected him with a glance. Everyone simply camped nearby to rest. During the rest, Qin Yu was thinking about the plan to capture the pterosaur. After a long time, he waved to Yaozan and said, "Ask people to hunt some wild animals. Remember to make them fatter." Waving his hand, Yaozan bowed and retreated, and then led more than 30 people to catch prey nearby. Not long after, the hunting team returned with a full load, including 3 wild boars with plump meat. Qin Yu couldn't help but smile at the harvest, and then asked people to dissect the bodies of these prey into pieces. Let people scatter the meat in the open space in front, and pour the pig blood in front. We will bait, and see if the pterosaurs will come. Yaozan's eyes lit up after hearing this. The clan leader has a great idea. Yaozan flattered him, and quickly led his men to set up the bait. As pieces of fat wild boar meat and fresh pig blood with a bloody smell were poured into the area, the smell gradually spread out and drifted around. A group of short velociraptors slowly walked out from all around quietly, and when they saw that there was no one around, they began to feast without worry. Qin Yu smiled coldly and moved his mind. The ground in front of him trembled slightly, and sharp and thick golden vines broke out of the ground in an instant, accurately piercing the group of velociraptors who were eating a delicious meal. After being pierced by the thick vines, the velociraptors bled slowly and soon all died. Seeing this, Qin Yu's consciousness moved. The vines slowly disappeared, leaving only more than 20 velociraptor corpses. Seeing this, everyone in the witch hall was shocked by Qin Yu's strength. They didn't expect that the clan leader was the one who made the greatest achievements in witchcraft. Jiang Rang was not too shocked, but thought it was normal. After all, Yan Yin had told him that the patriarch had a godlike talent in witchcraft. Seeing it today, it was indeed true. Later, some different giant dinosaurs were attracted, and they were all strangled by Qin Yu using the power of vines. Not long after, a strange and sharp cry suddenly came from all around. "Patriarch, it should be the giant bat that was attracted," Yaozan said excitedly after hearing it. "That's called a pterosaur." Qin Yu glanced at him and thought to himself that he was indeed a reckless man. But soon he also showed an excited smile on his face. "I saw more than a dozen pterosaurs of different sizes hovering above the open sky. PS. Long press the text to have a correction function. Chapter 231 War is coming. When the pterosaurs come down, use the vine binding technique to tie them up as much as possible." Qin Yu ordered the group of wizards behind him. As time passed slowly, after a while, 3 or 4 pterosaurs began to lower their altitude, testing whether there was any danger around. After many attempts without response, more than a dozen pterosaurs began to gradually relax their vigilance and slowly landed on the bait from a high altitude. 1, 2, 5, 6, a total of 18. Go. Qin Yu shouted in a low voice, and then everyone used the vine binding technique on the pterosaurs. Qin Yu did the same. I saw golden vines rising from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, hundreds of vines flew quickly towards the surrounding pterosaurs. After the pterosaurs that were eating saw the sudden change, they immediately wanted to flap their wings and fly into the sky to escape. Several pterosaurs were alerted in advance and had already flown 2 or 3 meters high. I saw more than a dozen vines faster than their flying speed, rushing straight into the sky and then tying up the wings of several pterosaurs and pulling them down with force. Qin Yu was not idle either. He held the demon controlling bag in his right hand and continuously infused power into it, and then collected the pterosaurs one by one. Soon after, more than a dozen pterosaurs were quickly killed, and none of them escaped. Qin Yu patted the demon controlling bag with a smile on his face, and then put it away. "We have a great harvest. Let's go back first." Qin Yu smiled and ordered. As soon as the voice fell, everyone began to return in the direction they came from. On the other side, the thousands of troops of the Qin Yu tribe marched slowly, marching 50 miles a day. Seeing that everyone was in poor condition, the chief of the Qin Yu tribe thought for a moment and said, "Advance another 20 miles, and then set up camp to rest, and launch the attack tomorrow." After the voice fell, the army of thousands of people marched more than 20 miles, and then set up camp to rest, and made a fire to cook. The location of the camp was estimated to be less than 20 miles away from the west entrance of the valley. The next morning, with the order of the chief of the Qin Yu tribe, the whole army set out again, and went straight all the way. It took 2.5 hours to finally arrive at a location about 500 or 600 meters away from the west entrance of the valley. Such a large army was naturally discovered by the surrounding sentries early. The news of the Qin Yu army's attack also reached the ears of several senior officials, and Qin Yu also learned about it early from the report of the Shadow Guard. Not long after, a large number of troops gathered at the west entrance of the valley. Qin Yu and others were also discussing the plan to deal with the enemy in the tent. At this time, in an animal skin tent, Qin Yu, Zhu, Ji, Shigu, Yao Zion and others gathered together. "Chief, I estimate that the number of enemy troops is about 2007 or 8, and the formation is scattered, and the degree of elite can be seen. The number is about the same as ours, but other than that, the advantage is on our side." Ji quickly analyzed. "This battle is no longer suspenseful. Our goal is to minimize the sacrifices of the war, so we have this discussion. Let's talk about our ideas." Qin Yu sat on a wooden chair and said to everyone with a glance. After a moment, Zua spoke first. "With our equipment level, I think we can completely crush them and collapse them from the momentum. Chief, you can set up your artillery at the entrance of the valley, and the 1,000 archers behind you can shoot arrows to force the enemy back. General G's Wolf Cavalry can go around to block their retreat, and the 1,000 Thunder Copper Spearmen can completely use up their long-range means on the enemy and then attack them head-on in close combat." Soon, a general idea was formulated from Zua's mouth. However, if this plan is planned according to the current strength of the Qin Yu tribe, then there will be absolutely no problem. But then again, things are often not so absolute, and unexpected things often happen. So we have to keep a hand in preparation just in case. The sharpshooter team and the dragon and tiger guards will be responsible for holding the line. The dragon and tiger guards will lead the thunder copper spearmen to charge and attack the enemy, and the sharpshooters will be stationed at the entrance of the valley. First, they will prevent the enemy from really attacking the valley, and second, they will shoot some enemy high combat units to reduce the losses of our soldiers. Qin Yu couldn't help but smile with satisfaction after filling in some of the details. Even if there is a bigger accident in the end, Qin Yu can rely on the power in the King's Cauldron to calm the situation. After discussing the plan, Qin Yu ordered loudly, "Go down and prepare to implement it immediately." "Yes." Everyone turned around and left the tent. Qin Yu looked at the remaining figure in the tent and couldn't help but ask, "Do you have anything else to do?" After hearing this, Shigu pleaded, "Chief, can I also join the battle?" Qin Yu nodded slightly. Shigu had a deep hatred for the other party, so he naturally wanted to go on the field to kill the enemy more than anyone else. Not to mention that he had brought more than 20 people who survived from the original tribe in recent days. Among them, there were 20 dinosaur knights, and each of them had at least a large dinosaur mount. "Okay, you can take your people to join the battle, and then you can join the main attack force." "Yes." After hearing the permission, Shigu ran out excitedly. Qin Yu couldn't help but smile at Shigu's figure, and then he took more than 20 shadow guards to supervise the battle. 500 meters in front of the west entrance of the valley, the chief of the Qin Yu tribe looked at the dense jungle on both sides and couldn't help but sneer. With such a dense jungle, there must be someone ambushing inside. "Archers, shoot arrows inside." The warriors of the wolf team go around and kill them immediately after the archers stop shooting. As soon as the voice fell, more than 200 archers began to draw bows and shoot arrows at the two jungles. After there was no response from inside, the archer team continued to move forward and shoot arrows into the jungle. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. However, hundreds of arrows suddenly shot out from the depths of the jungle as the archers of the Qin Yu tribe approached. Soon the archer team began to fall down in pieces, suffering heavy losses. At this time, the warriors of the wolf team also rushed to the surrounding area and began to charge into the jungle. The archers in the jungle occupied and retreated, and after consuming about 100 enemies, they quickly fled into the cave. Haha, the enemy is just like this. Charge into the cave. Take our things back. The Qin Yu tribe leader shouted. He immediately ordered several teams of more than 1,000 people to charge into the cave. Teams of Qin Yu tribe warriors rushed into the cave with their weapons raised high. When many Qin Yu tribe warriors just rushed out of the cave, they saw that the front suddenly became open, but there was a huge dragon head facing them right in front. It exuded a terrifying breath that captured people's hearts. This oppression made the people who were running wildly stop their steps. At the same time, Qin Yu silently controlled the dragon head turret and changed the type of ammunition to thunderstorm bomb. Chapter 232. The war is coming to an end. Buzz. A piercing wave spread out. Then, a series of restless lightning forces began to condense in the mouth of the huge dragon head. Boom. A huge sound attacked all around, and the thunderstorm bomb with a diameter of nearly 1 meter suddenly blasted towards the crowd in front. Bang. At the moment of the collision between the two sides, countless people were engulfed by the light of thunder and lightning, and then a large number of charred corpses were scattered. However, the terrifying thunderstorm bomb did not stop, but continued to blast out under Qin Yu's control. One after another, the thunderstorm bombs continued to engulf the enemies rushing in. The terrifying momentum made many enemies look terrified. Heavenly punishment. It's heavenly punishment. Run. Run. RRRR. The sounds of running away, panic, and screams mixed together, making the scene extremely chaotic. The people behind wanted to rush in, and the people in front wanted to run out. For a while, the two waves of people collided with each other and caused a lot of losses. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe outside the cave was stunned when he found the abnormality. Looking at the follow-up troops that could not rush in for a long time and the screams in the valley, he gritted his teeth and had to let people withdraw first. But as the soldiers of the Qin Yu tribe withdrew, the artillery in the valley and the army slowly pressed out. Seeing the thunder and lightning shells bombarding wantonly, the chief of the Qin Yu tribe was stunned. What's going on? Seeing the terrifying power of the thunder and lightning shells, the chief of the Qin Yu tribe immediately became timid. If this goes on, the army will be in chaos. Not to mention robbing the valley, it will be a problem whether they can go back alive. After just thinking for a moment, the chief of the Qin Yu tribe shouted, "All troops listen to orders. All retreat 5 miles. Looking at the crazy retreat of the enemy, the wild beast shouted in the back, "All archers. Shoot. Shoot." As soon as the voice fell, thousands of sharp arrows formed a fierce rain of arrows and smashed over like an overwhelming force. As the rain of arrows fell fiercely, it caused great damage to the enemy. Thousands of people in the dense fleeing formation fell, hundreds of figures in an instant. The miserable and painful wails resounded everywhere. Then the second, third, and fourth rounds of arrow rain came one after another. The team of more than 2,000 people was reduced to more than 1,000 people in an instant with several rounds of arrow rain. The amazing thunder and lightning offensive accompanied by arrows did not stop, and the oppressed enemy fled in panic. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe was even more brave and heroic. Although he seemed brave, he could only fight with the wind. An army of thousands of people is not so easy to command. Incompetence will have a negative effect, especially when the wind is against you. It will collapse. All troops attack. With Qin Yu's loud command, Shigu led about 20 dinosaur cavalrymen under his command to rush out of the cave and kill the fleeing enemy. Roar! The sitting Tyrannosaurus Rex roared and rushed down the enemy in front of him frantically. It jumped into the crowd with a sudden leap, and the huge dragon tail swept around, sweeping away countless enemies, while Shigu, holding a bronze spear given by Qin Yu, began to stab the enemies around him. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. More than 20 dinosaur cavalrymen suddenly killed Red Eyes, venting the blood feud that had been accumulated in their hearts for a long time. Soon after, Yaozan also rushed to the enemy group in front with more than 200 dragon and tiger guards. Although they had different weapons in their hands, they had one feature. That is, the whole body exuded the power of thunder and lightning, and under each attack, the enemy suffered heavy losses. Each of the dragon and tiger guards could pick up more than a dozen without losing the upper hand, and gradually nibbled them clean. On the battlefield, for a while, the warriors of the Qin Yu tribe were killed and retreated step by step. More than 900 spearmen holding thunder copper spears rushed out, raised their spears with both hands, and aimed them at the fleeing enemies. Then, small lightning bullets gathered from the tip of the gun, and then shot out fiercely. Wherever the small lightning bullets hit, the enemy's body was charred. The power was really extraordinary. This was the long-range means of the thunder copper spearman, which was both a gun and a gun. However, an ordinary thunder copper spear could probably shoot out 5 or 6 small lightning bullets. If it were used by someone with spiritual seeds, the power would be stronger and more lasting, the number of times would be more, and the speed of lightning power recovery would be faster. However, the thunder copper weapons that can enhance the strength of ordinary people are also extraordinary and valuable. Thousands of thunder copper spears can fire about 5 or 6,000 lightning bullets. The Qin Yu tribe's army on the field was soon beaten to only a few hundred people. The chief of the Qin Yu tribe ran desperately with the remaining soldiers. This time, they came to rob the valley with full confidence and ran away in a hurry. It was really beyond his expectation. Watching the pursuers behind him gradually get rid of him, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard a group of cavalrymen riding black giant wolves suddenly rushing out in front of him. A woo a woo a woo, a series of rapid and powerful wolf howls rang out. The leader held up an iron spear, and then the dense wolf cavalrymen behind him rushed over frantically, and Shigu behind him also rushed over with more than 20 dinosaur cavalrymen. Under the two-way attack, the remnants of the Qin Yu tribe instead aroused the idea of a desperate battle. Either way, they would die, so why not fight now? 500 wolf cavalrymen took the lead in colliding with the enemy, and the sharp long curved swords cut out bright blood flowers. Accompanied by the sound of fighting and screams, a spectacular and desolate scene was formed against the blood-red background. Ji fiercely stabbed out the horse lance in his hand, and the huge force instantly pierced through the chest of the Qin Yu tribe leader. Blood and internal organs were picked out, and the scene was extremely bloody for a while. One after another, the giant wolves threw the enemy to the ground, and then the soldiers on their bodies stabbed the sharp tips of their knives into the enemy's body. Soon, Shigu rode a Tyrannosaurus Rex and entered the battlefield. When he saw that the chief of the Qin Yu tribe had fallen to the ground and had no breath, he angrily stepped forward and stabbed him a few more times. Although the man died, it could not extinguish the anger with hatred in his heart. The outcome of this war was doomed from the beginning. In the passage hundreds of meters outside the valley at the west entrance of the valley, corpses were everywhere, and the blood dyed the surroundings a blood red. The broken limbs and arms were scattered all over the ground, and the smell of blood quickly attracted the nearby giant beasts. Go back to the valley, the beasts will deal with the corpses here. Ji patted Shigu, who was in a somewhat indescribable mood at the moment, and then turned and left. Shigu glanced at the corpse of the chief of the Qin Yu tribe next to him, and immediately stabbed it twice, then sighed and turned and left. Chapter 233 The Power of Fire Element. 6 spearmen were killed or wounded, 24 were slightly injured, 28 were slightly injured, 6 were seriously injured, and 4 were slightly injured in the dragon and tiger guards. A total of more than 560 prisoners were captured. Qin Yu sat aside. After listening to ZHU read the battle report, he nodded slightly. The prisoners are still sent to mine. The seriously injured soldiers are given a bottle of Baiyu soup and rest for half a month. The slightly injured ones rest for 5 days. The 3 meals a day are arranged according to the severity of the injuries. Yes. ZHU bowed and retreated. 100 miles west of Longjiang Valley, Qin Yu tribe. At this time, the tribe is a little looser than before. It's just because the more than 2,500 people who went on the expedition have not returned yet. At this time, in a stone house near the lake, a group of elders paced worriedly. Hey, 2 days have passed, why haven't they even received a letter from there? An elder sighed, his face full of worry. Wait a little longer. After all, there are quite a few people going out. It will take a long time to go back and forth. One person couldn't help but comfort him. The clan leader is really something. He didn't even send someone back to tell us about the situation. He made us old guys worry in vain. Everyone complained, but their worries were real. The elders have been working hard for the development and survival of the tribe for half their lives. The tribe is their hard work and their belonging. Elders, There is news from the clan leader. Just as everyone in the room was worried, a warrior from the tribe suddenly walked in breathlessly. What news? Tell me. Many elders were shocked, and then hurriedly asked. The warrior whispered weakly, great defeat. Bang, this is impossible. An elder raised his hand and slammed the table. Everyone, tribe, elders, more than a dozen warriors who went to the battle have escaped. According to what they said, the enemy can summon thunder and is very powerful. The tribe leader and thousands of warriors will either die in battle or be captured. After hearing this, everyone was stunned. More than 2,000 warriors. Just gone like that? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. An elder suddenly became crazy. However, he was not the only one who went crazy. It was hard for the Qin Yu tribe to accept such tragic news. For them, it was like a bolt from the blue. After a long time, an elder said coldly, what we should worry about now is when the enemy will attack and whether we can resist it with only our remaining troops. Secondly, we should send someone to confirm whether the news is accurate, instead of sighing here like a grudge. After this highly respected elder finished speaking, everyone seemed to have found their backbone and suddenly calmed down. Yes, we have to cheer up and listen to the elder of the Qin Yu tribe. Soon everyone began to make arrangements according to what the elder said. The first is to send people to the valley in the east to find out the situation, and the second is to find the next migration site to prevent the possibility of the tribe being destroyed due to the invasion of the enemy. The third is to gather the remaining troops, patrol the surroundings, and increase training tasks. The fifth is to recruit more tribesmen to train as warriors in preparation for future wars. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Although the Qin Yu tribe confirmed the fact that the 2,000 troops were defeated, they did not wait for the enemy's attack. It is possible that the other party is only interested in the valley, and they don't care about the Qin Yu tribe. It is also possible that the other party has experienced a war and plans to recuperate for a period of time and then reorganize the army to attack. No matter which of the two results, the elders of the Qin Yu tribe are panic-stricken. Qin Yu naturally didn't care about the worries of the Qin Yu tribe. At this time, he was leading 500 people to clear the obstacles on the road to the volcano. After the last battle, he felt that the Qin Yu tribe should be scared, and there was almost no possibility of trouble again. He only sent a few shadow guards to monitor the movements of the Qin Yu tribe. If the other party migrates the tribe and escapes, then the shadow guards will also know the next destination and then inform Qin Yu. If the other party still wants to make trouble, then Qin Yu really needs to consider whether to lead the troops to push them directly. Qin Yu absolutely cannot tolerate such a thing. At this time, everyone worked hard, and the dead trees and rocks were cleared one by one. The prehistoric creatures that approached the surroundings were either taken away by Qin Yu with the demon control bag, or slaughtered by the dragon and tiger guards. Even if the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which was more than 10 meters long, came, it would be useless. When many creatures found that whoever came to this area would die, over time, they would list this place as a forbidden area. This is also the basic survival instinct of creatures. Clearing the road is a time-consuming and labor-intensive task with a huge workload. The team of more than 500 people took nearly a day to complete the cleaning. Qin Yu glanced at the sky and estimated that it would be dark soon. It was already dusk at this time. The dim light and shadow shone in the dense mountains and forests, as if covering this scenery with a layer of golden clothes. Go back. Come back tomorrow. Qin Yu shouted loudly. He led everyone back to the valley. The next morning, after breakfast, Qin Yu quickly led the dragon and tiger guards and the people from the witch hall to the crater. At this time, the cleared road had become extremely smooth. Because it was early in the morning, the trees on the road were still covered with white frost and mist. After walking about 20 miles, everyone finally arrived at the bare volcanic area. The surrounding area was full of black rocks, high and low, and the road was bumpy. The area near the crater in front exuded a hot breath. The closer I got, the more I felt that my body began to permeate sweat. Qin Yu observed from a distance for a moment, and seeing that it was relatively stable, he walked over carefully. Looking down from the crater above, I saw that the magma in it revealed a terrifying high temperature. Just putting your hand in the air can feel like being roasted by a furnace. The magma is like burning red iron, flowing below. Qin Yu slowly took out the element storage device, and at the same time, his right hand glowed with golden light, and he lifted the element storage device and slowly flew to the bottom of the crater. But, it's working, Qin Yu said in surprise. Under the element storage device, streams of hot fire element were slowly extracted and sucked into the container. The fire element in the container were increasing at a rate of 1% every 3 seconds. After a few minutes, Qin Yu couldn't help but smile at the 100% fire element power in the element storage device. With this, he had 2 element storage devices full of fire element. Later, Qin Yu considered the inconvenience of extraction and the inability to replenish it frequently. He silently consumed 30,000 civilization points to buy 3 more element storage devices. Chapter 234 1 month development. After the 3 element storages were all filled with fire element, Qin Yu led the team back to Longjiang Valley. On the way back, more than 20 dinosaurs were captured. So far, the number of dinosaurs and giant beasts captured in these days has reached more than 400. It is not far from the goal of having a complete mount for every one in the 1,000-man dinosaur cavalry. 1 month later. At this time, the strength of the dragon tribe has reached its peak after the precipitation of time. The original weak power to be developed has all developed into substance. The 2 major branch cities and 10 towns on the grassland have also been completed. However, the population has not yet been relocated, which means that most of them are still empty cities. Among them, Nanwang Town, Grizzly Town, and Futeng Town are inhabited towns, with an average population of about 6,500 people in each town. The garrison of Nanwang Town is Linshi, while the garrisons of Grizzly Town and Futeng Town are Wu Yantu of the former Grizzly tribe and Yun Wu, the former chief of the Futeng tribe. Qin Yu had promised to build 2 tribal towns before, and he also fulfilled his promise. Most of the people in Grizzly Town now are from the original Grizzly tribe, about 4,000 people. The same is true for Futeng Town, but the original Futeng tribe is not large, and there are less than 600 people from their own tribe. Although the 2 towns are guarded by people from the 2 tribes, Qin Yu is not afraid of any trouble from the 2 tribes. The first reason is the difference in strength. The second reason is that the political deputies of the 2 towns are students of the Dragon City Internal Affairs School, and their loyalty has reached more than 90%, and the loyalty of the officials in charge of the military is also more than 90. Muhu, the chief of the Grizzly tribe who leads 2,000 Grizzly warriors, has long been trained by Qin Yu to be a diehard fan. The third reason is that the 2 towns are full of shadow guards for surveillance. Once there is any unusual movement, the army of Dragon City can rush over quickly. Let alone Qin Yu can check the loyalty of his subordinates. Just say that the leaders of the 2 tribes are not fools. Otherwise they would not choose to join the Dragon tribe instead of choosing to fight against the Dragon tribe. At present, the most prosperous economy in the Dragon tribe is Dragon City. What Qin Yu didn't expect was that the second most prosperous town was Nanwang Town. According to the report of the Shadow Guard, the main promoter was Linshi, and the student of the Internal Affairs School really only played a supporting role. I didn't expect that Linshi's political ability was so excellent. The third most prosperous city was Xian Valley City. Coal City was second, Panhu City was third, followed by Grizzly Town and Futeng Town. At present, the weekly output value of Longcheng can reach 4 million small dragon copper coins. Converted into large dragon copper coins is 40,000. At present, the market has gradually become saturated, and Qin Yu has begun to stop minting copper coins. Driven by various buildings in Longcheng, all walks of life have gradually shown their prosperity, and various commercial streets, entertainment streets, and department stores are crisscrossed. However, these places will never appear in the inner city, since the buildings of various departments, wonders, barracks, important resource buildings, and important military buildings are all located in the inner city. The safety factor is the top priority. There are no economic zones in the inner city, all of which are industrial zones, etc. There are only roads for traffic, and no economic industries. Qin Yu plans to build the inner city into a royal city in the future, so it is naturally impossible to arrange it like a busy city, and it needs to be majestic. The more prosperous industries at present are fishing, animal husbandry, restaurants, hunting, silkworm breeding, snacks, clothing, silkworm farmers, wine, tailors, cloth, shoes, handicrafts, transportation, accommodation, medicine, theaters, education, pottery, etc. In less than 2 months, each city has changed a lot. Among them, Zhuyi has made the greatest contribution. If he had not proposed the integration of several cities, the development of the economy, and the concept of a pass, it would be impossible for several cities to develop so fast. Lang Cheng was the first to develop, and then because some industries were saturated, some smart people came up with the idea of starting a business in other cities. Zhuyi followed the trend, and really made a great contribution. Among them, Lang Cheng is the closest to Nanwang Town, so it has quickly driven the economy of Nanwang Town. This is why the economic level of Nanwang Town ranks second. At present, the restrictions of various cities are becoming more and more relaxed, and even people are beginning to be allowed to choose to immigrate. Of course, some conditions are also required. You cannot have loans in the current city, you cannot have a criminal record, and you need to pay 100 small dragon copper coins per person as a handling fee. If you just want to visit other cities or visit relatives and friends, business interviews, and economic trade, then you only need to register your information and pay 20 small dragon coins to get a pass. In addition to the economic development of each city, we also need to pay attention to the Museo clan in the west of the grassland. I thought the clan in the western swamp could drag it out for a few months. Unexpectedly, in just over a month, the war there has become much weaker than before, and it is only a matter of time before the war ends. Therefore, the plan to liberate the western part of the grassland is imminent. Qin Yu has been having countless heated discussions with many military generals in recent days. At present, with the military strength of the dragon tribe, it should be easy to destroy the Shangxiu clan. The dragon tribe, which has 3 kinds of power, the power of vines, the power of slave beasts, and the power of thunder and lightning, is naturally superior to the mandrill tribe, which only has 1 kind. The population of the dragon tribe is now close to 200,000. The number of troops is close to 60,000. The number of archers has reached 6,000. The number of archers has reached 2,000. The number of shield spearmen has reached 3,000. The number of thunder copper spearmen has reached 16,000. The number of shield axemen has reached 2,000. The number of blood covenant wolf riders has reached 800, and the number of scouts has reached 1,500. 2,000 guards, 8,000 cavalry, 3,000 slingers, 300 dragon and tiger guards, 200 shadow guards, 300 Futeng warriors, totem warriors, 2,000 dog warriors, 2,000 bronze shield soldiers, 2,000 grizzly warriors, 2,000 essence sword and shield soldiers, 1,000 hammer soldiers, 500 Guandao soldiers, 1,000 dinosaur cavalry, 150 giant tiger cavalry, included in the dragon and tiger guard system, 600 giant beast legions, led by 30 junior wizards, and 1 intermediate wizard. Since Qin Yu's civilization points are completely insufficient, the original idea of the alien beast legion is temporarily abandoned. In addition, there are nearly 2,000 militias and more than 2,000 law enforcement teams in the law hall. All in all, the number of military personnel has exceeded 60,000. Although many of them are recruits, their strength and military quality are not low with the addition of various military buildings. On the contrary, there are still many elites among them. Chapter 235. The dinosaur army approaches Qinghu Lake. In a month's world, Shigu's 1,000 dinosaur cavalrymen have completed their training and met the basic configuration. In terms of mounts, 40% of the soldiers in the army were assigned to the ferocious Tyrannosaurus Rex, 20% of the soldiers were assigned to the barbarian dragon, which was second only to the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The barbarian dragon could reach a maximum size of more than 10 meters, and was very brutal. It was also called the barbarian dragon. The Carcharodontosaurus, which had a stronger bite force and a size that was not inferior to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, was also assigned to 20% of the soldiers. The teeth of the Carcharodontosaurus were more than 5 centimeters and belonged to the Megalodon. The remaining 20% were 10% Giganotosaurus and 10% Carnotaurus. Giganotosaurus definitely had a bite force that was not inferior to that of the Carcharodontosaurus and a tearing ability that was not inferior to that of the Tyrannosaurus rex. Its biting speed was very fast, and it had thin teeth as sharp as a table knife. It was considered the T0 team among the dinosaur cavalry. The remaining 10% of Carnotaurus was the tail of this cavalry team. Its size, strength, and biting ability were not as good as the other dragons. But, as a high-speed predator that is best at running among large dinosaurs, the speed of the Neolon can definitely be ranked first. As for the pterosaurs, with the simultaneous efforts of the animal pen and the exotic beast breeding farm, there are already more than 300 of them. However, it is not so easy to train air soldiers, so the training plan for pterosaur cavalry has not been officially implemented. In addition to each dinosaur cavalry being equipped with a dinosaur mount, there is also a thunder copper spear, a bronze shield, 10 thunder copper javelins, and a bronze armor. The difference between the thunder copper spear and the thunder copper spear is that one is longer and the other is shorter. One is more suitable for cavalry, but the moves are simple, and the other is more suitable for infantry and has more attack methods. These cavalry are all high quality soldiers who have come out of the militia training camp. Later, Qin Yu gave them 1,000 books on elementary horseback archery skills. In a month, these 1,000 dinosaur cavalry have already reached the level of small elite. Dragon Valley. Roar. The roar of dinosaurs resounded continuously in the valley. At this time, Shigu was riding a Tyrannosaurus rex, wearing bronze armor, holding a thunder copper spear, and looking at the army in front of him. The dragons raised their heads, and the spears stood upright. Under the sunlight, the spear tips flashed with a fascinating cold light. This is the power given to him by the patriarch. After a month, he finally had the capital to take revenge. He didn't want everyone in the Qin Yu tribe to die, but to remove the Qin Yu tribe from the list. Master Tongwei, this is the patriarch's order. He has agreed to the war against the Qin Yu tribe. It says that we must fight beautifully and cleanly, but we must not kill innocent people indiscriminately. Those who surrender will be demoted to mine slaves. A captain handed over a paper letter. Shigu took it, glanced at it, and put it away. He has also learned Chinese characters in the past month. Although he doesn't know many, he can understand the general meaning of the order. A strange look flashed in Shigu's eyes, and then he looked at the dinosaur army in front of him, and began to shout loudly, whether it is a mule or a horse, pull it out for a walk. This is what the tribe leader taught me. Our dinosaur cavalry team has been established for a month. There are countless strong troops in the tribe. We can't be cowards. Today, we will use the blood of the Qin Yu tribe to sharpen the blade for our dinosaur cavalry team. Let everyone see whether we are precious swords or broken blades. As Shigu's voice fell, the valley suddenly rose with heroic voices. Everyone was excited. After training for a month, they had powerful dinosaur mounts under them. Who doesn't want to prove themselves? Looking at the army whose morale reached its peak, Shigu roared, the whole army is going. Soon after, the dinosaur cavalry set off from the main valley entrance, which is the east entrance of the valley. Although the west valley entrance is the closest, the large dinosaurs at the cave exit over there cannot pass. The plan to attack the Qin Yu tribe had already been discussed. A 100-man infantry team will go out from the west valley entrance with military rations and go all the way to the Qin Yu tribe. The dinosaur cavalry was fast, so it just made up for the detour time and was able to meet up with the grain transport team. According to previous intelligence, if attacked, the Qin Yu tribe would definitely choose to let the army delay the enemy's attack and send a part of it to escort other tribesmen to the secret migration site. Therefore, the fastest 100 bull dragon cavalry were responsible for going around the opposite direction of the Qin Yu tribe in advance to cut off their retreat. The Tyrannosaurus cavalry, the southern giant dragon cavalry, and the barbarian dragon cavalry were responsible for the frontal attack on the enemy's army. In order to prevent the bull dragon cavalry from being unable to stop the migration of the Qin Yu tribe, Shigu decided to let the shark-toothed dragon cavalry be responsible for support, while the bull dragon rushed over in advance to delay the enemy. It was really quiet on the march. Of course, this refers to the environment passed by. The scene of a large group of hundreds or thousands of carnivorous dinosaurs gathered together was very terrifying. All kinds of creatures along the way saw it, and they were terrified. They didn't even dare to look at it and ran away. The journey of 120 miles was divided into 2 days. The time came to noon the next day. The terrifying number of dinosaurs even made the Qin Yu tribe think that they had encountered a beastie. But when they saw the elite soldiers on the dinosaurs, they immediately realized that it was not simple. There were almost 1,000 dinosaurs. How long would it take to tame them? Their Qin Yu tribe could only tame about 50 or 60 dinosaurs a year at most. Taming dinosaurs is very difficult, and casualties may occur if you are not careful. Therefore, when 1,000 dinosaurs, especially carnivorous dinosaurs, appeared in front of them, they were shocked beyond words. My Qin Yu tribe should have no grudges against your tribe, right? If you are short of food, my Qin Yu tribe is willing to give it to your tribe, even if it empties its family. Please withdraw your troops, and don't hurt the harmony, an elder shouted loudly. Although he said so, the tribe was gathering thousands of warriors at a crazy speed. Shigu looked at the tribe in front of him with cold eyes. He didn't want to talk nonsense with the dead. Prepare the thunder bombs. He shouted loudly. The 700 cavalrymen behind him slowly raised their spears. Shigu glanced at the dense square formation of the enemy gathered in front of him and couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Fire! A loud shout was heard. Dazzling lightning began to gather between the spears of the 700 spears. But waves of harsh waves spread out in all directions. Then, densely packed lightning bombs as big as half a fist suddenly erupted towards the enemy's square formation. Hundreds of lightning bombs seemed to be woven into a huge net covering the sky and slowly rushed towards the enemy's square formation. That's the tribe that can summon heavenly punishment. More than 20 warriors in the enemy's square formation who had seen the power of lightning bombs immediately showed horrified eyes. Chapter 236. The war is over. Rich harvest. A large lightning net made of countless lightning bombs slammed towards the enemy's square formation. Wherever it went, there were screams and burned black. Countless figures were blown upside down. Screams were heard everywhere, and the enemy's square formation was in chaos, and morale plummeted. After seeing this, the faces of several elders in the back suddenly changed. This heavenly punishment is so terrifying. I didn't expect that the thing that can summon heavenly punishment is actually true. Several elders thought in shock. One of the elders with higher prestige hurriedly shouted, "The situation is not right. Quickly call someone to take the tribesmen to evacuate." Understood. Everyone moved quickly while maintaining the morale of the army, evacuating the gathered tribesmen to the west. Anxious looks were all over everyone's face. The tribe was in chaos, and the cries of women and children rang everywhere. And Shigu, who was hundreds of meters away, couldn't help but look cold. When the Qin Yu tribe killed his wife, daughter and tribesmen, did he ever think that one day he would suffer the same fate? All troops, charge. Those who raise weapons will be killed without mercy. With Shigu's order, more than 700 dinosaur cavalrymen held the reins in one hand and raised their spears in the other, driving the dinosaurs to rush forward. For a moment, dust was flying and whistling filled the sky. The earth was shaking, the weeds were crouching in fear, the murderosaur was condensed into substance, and the sun seemed to hide in the clouds in fear. Shigu drove the Tyrannosaurus Rex to the front, followed by many dinosaur cavalrymen. For a moment, the army was full of momentum. The two armies slowly collided with each other at a speed visible to the naked eye. Countless warriors of the Qin Yu tribe were instantly blown away. For a moment, broken limbs and arms were scattered all over the ground with blood, and the heart-wrenching screams were soul-stirring. Shigu led the 700 dinosaur cavalrymen like a powerful hammer to suddenly chisel into a piece of crisp tofu, crushing it into pieces. For a while, the dinosaur cavalry went in and out of the army of more than 3,000 people, killing them in pieces. Many of the bodies had their heads missing, and they were probably killed by dinosaurs who bit off their heads. At this time, Shigu was already bloodthirsty. Looking at the dozen Qin Yu tribe warriors in front of him holding their weapons against him, he looked like he wanted to go but was afraid. Kill. Shigu smiled coldly and shouted in a deep voice. The spear in his hand became extremely fast with the power of thunder and lightning. The people on the side saw only a residual image flashing by and then saw a blood hole appear in the neck of the tribesman next to him. The people around him were immediately terrified, but Shigu did not give them a chance to react. The swift spear stabbed out again, and in the blink of an eye, 3 people died again. Let's go together. 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. A warrior raised his long sword and chopped it over. The next second, the long sword slowly fell to the ground. The man looked at the spear that suddenly stabbed in disbelief, and then slowly fell to the ground and died. The rest of the people felt a chill running down their spines. Run. The fear of death made one person yell, and then he turned and ran. Puff. A bronze knife pierced his chest, and blood flowed out from the crack. Those who dare to stand will die. A sturdy leader of the Qin Yu tribe led a team of people to kill him. Seeing the terrified faces of the people around him, he couldn't help but shout angrily, "Run. Where to run? Behind you are your women, children, your people. As a warrior, you must be aware of the sacrifice of the tribe. Go protect the tribe. Protect your people. Let the name of King Yu be passed on." Kinky. Haha, you are not dead yet. Shigu suddenly interrupted with a big laugh. The sturdy leader was stunned and looked ahead with an unbelievable look. Shigu? How could you be? How could it be you? His expression was like a bolt from the blue. At this moment, he understood that this was not a man-made disaster, but an enemy coming to his door. But soon he laughed and said, "I saved your life back then. Today I will send you down to accompany your tribesmen. Kill them." The leader of the Qin Yu tribe shouted, and more than 20 Qin Yu warriors surrounded and killed them. "Master Tongri, we are here to help you." A shout suddenly rang out behind Shigu, and a team of more than a dozen bronze-armored soldiers riding Tyrannosaurus Rex came with spears and collided with the more than 20 Qin Yu warriors. In an instant, it was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. I saw that more than a dozen dinosaur cavalrymen swallowed more than 20 people in an instant. Half of them died in the mouth of the dinosaur, and half of them were pierced by spears. The power of thunder and lightning could make them stagnate the moment they touched them, and then they were pierced by a spear. Shigu looked at the strong man in front of him, as if he was looking at a dead man again. "Kinky, before you die, I'll tell you one thing. I've already sent a large army to set up an ambush on the road where you are escorting the tribesmen to evacuate. That means that no one from the Qin Yu tribe can escape today. I will find your women and children alone and send them down to accompany you." As soon as the voice fell, Shigu fiercely shot out the spear in his hand. Dense lightning patterns appeared around the spear, and the shooting speed was so fast that a distance of dozens of meters could be reached in less than a second. It was impossible for people to react. Puff. Kinky watched a spear pierce his chest in an instant. He stared at Shigu with wide eyes, then slowly fell down and died. The whole person died with his eyes open, as if he had anticipated the scene of the tribesmen being slaughtered. Perhaps at this moment, he finally regretted the evil things he had done in the past. The surrounding battlefield was full of bloody breath, and corpses were scattered all over the ground. 700 dinosaur cavalry against 3,000 ordinary infantry. The 700 dinosaur cavalry won a great victory. The shock and fright it gave to the enemy was often much higher than the casualties of the enemy. There were about 2,000 casualties among the more than 3,000 people. The survivors either dropped their weapons and surrendered, or fled in all directions. This war only took 1 hour, that is, 2 hours, and the Qin Yu tribe was defeated and inevitably destroyed. On the other side, the 3 heads of the dinosaur cavalry each led 100 dinosaur cavalry, and 300 dinosaur cavalry intercepted the people of the Qin Yu tribe who were about to evacuate. Anyone who dared to raise a weapon to resist was mercilessly killed by the dinosaur cavalry. Amid the slogans of surrender and no killing, the captive team slowly calmed down. After all, there were cavalry all around, and if they fled in all directions, they would inevitably be slaughtered. What's more, the news of the defeat of the rear army came over, and many people of the Qin Yu tribe looked even more desperate. With the defeat of the rear, Shigu sent another 200 cavalry to escort the prisoners. Although there were only 500 cavalry, the deterrent power of the dinosaurs was enough to calm the restless hearts of some captives. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237. Dozens of consecutive draws. 5 purple, 8 blue. "Sir Commander, the casualties have been counted." A cavalry soldier slowly came over, saluted, and then whispered, "Read." Shigu responded, while bandaging the wounds on his body. 46 soldiers were killed, 12 dinosaurs were killed, 24 soldiers were seriously injured, more than 160 people were slightly injured, 9 dinosaurs were seriously injured, and more than 240 were slightly injured. So many? Shigu was stunned. However, thinking that it was a war of genocide, there were many brave people who fought desperately against the enemy. Send the Baiyu soup to the injured soldiers as soon as possible, and crush the herbs I made and apply them to the injured dinosaurs. Shigu ordered in a deep voice. By the way, count the prisoners and various supplies and send them to the tribe leader. Before the officer left, Shigu gave another order. The officer responded respectfully and then turned and left. Langjiang Valley. At this time, Langjiang Valley had already begun to build and develop in the direction of the city. According to Qin Yu's idea, this valley was used as a springboard to slowly occupy the entire dinosaur world civilization. Of course, Qin Yu will not focus on this world. At present, Shigu is responsible for the development of this side. His ability is enough. Even if Qin Yu's world encounters invasion by other players, it is just a small matter to open a space gate to teleport the army over there. It does not affect the overall situation at all. Besides, the forces on the dinosaur world are weaker. If the world is not big, it is not difficult for Qin Yu to occupy it. Chief, this is the war damage and spoils. A bronze armored soldier came in and handed over 2 paper documents. Qin Yu nodded slightly and took it. War damage. More than 6,000 people were captured, and all kinds of supplies. The harvest is good. Qin Yu glanced at the battle report and smiled. The damage of the dinosaur cavalry will be made up according to the type of dinosaur, and I will transfer new soldiers as soon as possible. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he waved his hand to indicate that the other party could leave. Looking at the empty hall, Qin Yu silently took out a bag of gold coins. This is the civilization gold coins he has saved for more than a month and has not used to draw items. There are 5 gold coins for intermediate winners, 26 gold coins for primary winners, and 9 gold coins for primary losers. This number is not small. After all, the dragon tribe has been advocating development during this period, and the wars launched are not many. Qin Yu's consciousness moved. In a trance, he came to the lush cliff again. In front of him was a 1,000-foot cliff, and a majestic waterfall flowed from top to bottom. Qin Yu prayed silently, and then scattered all the gold coins in the bag down. With the sound of splashing water, rays of light of different colors instantly shot up into the sky. For a moment, the light was bright. No gold. What a pity. But there are quite a lot of purple this time, Qin Yu said, and then opened the prompt to start checking. You consume an intermediate winner's gold coin and obtain the building iron workshop X1. Purple quality. You consume an intermediate winner's gold coin and obtain the formation gathering spirit formation X1. Purple quality. You consume an intermediate winner's gold coin and obtain the building meditation hall X1. Purple quality. You consume an intermediate winner's gold coin and obtain the wonder statue of the god of wealth X1. Purple quality. You consume an intermediate winner's gold coin and obtain the item heart knot X1. Blue quality. You consume a primary winner's gold coin and obtain the wonder Wuwang temple X1. Purple quality. You consume a primary winner's gold coin and obtain smelting blast furnace X1. Blue quality. You consume a primary winner's gold coin and obtain the building automatic crossbow tower X1. Blue quality. You consume a primary winner's gold coin and obtain the building automatic crossbow tower X1. Blue quality. You consume 1 primary winner's gold coin and get the weapon bronze siege tower X1. Blue quality. You consume 1 primary loser's gold coin and get the building 5,000 miles of 100 orchards X1. Blue quality. You consume 1 primary loser's gold coin and get the wonder palace courtyard X1. Blue quality. You consume 1 primary loser's gold coin and get the building golden clothing workshop X1. Blue quality. There are 5 purple items and 8 blue items in total. As for the remaining green and white items, Qin Yu was too lazy to look at them. Most of them are some supplies or some small buildings and fine iron weapons. The blue and purple items are the highlights. Qin Yu began to check the harvest, this time one by one. Iron workshop. It can be built at any location. The iron workshop has the ability to quickly produce various iron tools, farm tools, and weapons. It only needs to place enough iron ingots and labor population to continuously produce ironware. Note, the blueprint needs to consume civilization points to extract. Qin Yu looked at the introduction and couldn't help but be stunned. Now that the iron workshop has come out, should I put the plan of occupying the western part of the grassland on the agenda? After all, the western swamp connected to the western part of the grassland has iron mines, and the earlier it is occupied, the earlier the strength can be improved. Qin Yu silently wrote down the plan, and then continued to look at the next item. Gathering Spirit Formation, a product of the Uxin civilization. This is a kind of formation that can gather the surrounding spiritual power, spiritual energy and other energy-like substances within the range of the formation, thereby increasing the concentration of energy and preventing it from spreading out. This formation is an auxiliary cultivation type formation and has no offensive effect. This formation is better when it is built on the spiritual vein, which can effectively prevent the spread of energy substances. Qin Yu's eyes lit up when he saw this introduction. It's really a pillow for a sleepy head. There is a spiritual spring in the underground palace under the Panshan military village, which is sealed with a stone seat. In order to prevent the spread of spiritual energy and cause abnormal changes in other animals or the environment, Qin Yu did not push away the stone seat. But as time passed, the material in the stone seat seemed to be swallowed up under the flushing of spiritual energy, becoming lighter and lighter. Maybe it won't be long before this spiritual spring can be suppressed. And this gathering spirit formation just happens to prevent the spread of energy substances, which really relieves Qin Yu's worries. Qin Yu looked at the introduction with surprise. Although this spiritual spring has been slowly increasing the extraordinary power of the dragon tribe, but it has not become completely powerful. Qin Yu does not want to be exposed too early, thus causing an uncontrollable situation. After all, the predecessor of this world can be compared to the background of the Shanhaijing mythology. Although the era has suffered destruction, there must be a lot of extraordinary powers left. If discovered by such a force, the consequences will be uncontrollable. Chapter 238 Powerful Buildings. Meditation Hall, extraordinary building, with an area of more than 1000 square meters, with hundreds of jade cushions inside. Meditating on it can increase comprehension by 100%, increase cultivation speed by 100%, and increase energy and material absorption speed by 100%. Meditating in it has the effect of calming the mind and calming the spirit. It is a product of wizard civilization and an excellent treasure for cultivation. Meditation Hall. Another item related to the power enhancement of the extraordinary system. However, it is suitable to be built in Panshan military village. It seems that he needs to find time to go to Panshan military village to place the gathering spirit formation in the meditation hall there. However, although it has been built, not everyone can use it at will. The rule of survival of the fittest will always exist. There are only so many resources, and if you want to strengthen yourself, you still need to rely on your own ability to fight for it. For example, the 30 wizards who accompanied Qin Yu to the dinosaur civilization to capture dinosaurs last month, each of them received an average of 7 golden jade. These 7 golden jade are enough for them to be promoted to intermediate wizards. At present, the wizard system of the wizard hall has only 3 levels. Those who have successfully integrated the spirit seed and successfully portrayed a primary witchcraft can be called primary wizards. Their strength is not enough to advance to the extraordinary level. Those who have successfully portrayed an intermediate witchcraft and the ability in the spirit seed is enough to use the intermediate witchcraft 3 times in a row, can be called intermediate wizards. Intermediate witchcraft is more complex and difficult to portray, and it is very challenging to have strong mental strength. Therefore, if you want to enter the intermediate wizard level, you need to hone your mental strength. The condition for using intermediate witchcraft 3 times in a row is to test the energy storage limit in the wizard spirit seed. At present, this energy is collectively referred to as spiritual energy. Intermediate wizards are also extraordinary people who have officially entered the first level of extraordinary. Among the hundreds of people in the entire wizard hall, only Jiang Rong has reached the advanced wizard level. According to Jiang Rang's description, after entering the advanced wizard, it seems that a barrier of the human body has been broken. Not only has the upper limit of mental strength increased greatly, but the upper limit of the spirit storage in the spirit seed has also increased a lot, and even the thoughts of the brain have become clearer and more flexible. However, entering the advanced wizard has not reached the level of the second level of extraordinary, and is probably around the peak of the first level of extraordinary. After all, it is a journey from zero to something, and then to building a series of tall buildings. It is normal to have a difficult start. It is better than no progress. In Qin Yu's opinion, the potential of wizards is very large. After all, their power system comes from the law, just like a broad road that points directly to the avenue. It's just that the road ahead still needs countless pioneers to slowly pave it out. And Jiang Rang is obviously the pioneer who is at the forefront. In fact, it can't be called a wizard system, but it can be called a spiritual cultivation system. There are 3 directions for future development. One is to create a practice method and absorb spiritual energy as a mass system. One is to integrate spiritual seeds and take the elite system. And spiritual seeds are divided into physical cultivation and soul cultivation. A warrior and a magician. The former strengthens the body, and the latter strengthens the spirit. One fights with the body, which is somewhat like a warrior, but can be integrated with martial arts. One fights with magic, which is like cultivation, and can be integrated with the immortal system. The second one has no advantage, and can only rely on developing the human body to absorb spiritual energy. However, as long as enough totem laws are obtained, sooner or later, different abilities and attributes can be created. However, with the convenience of spiritual seeds, Qin Yu naturally has to give priority to creating a supernatural system of spiritual seeds. The reason is that in addition to the current foundation, which will be better developed in the future, Qin Yu is easier to control. Because only he can control the spiritual seeds, to separate from the king's cauldron. This is unparalleled in the control of subsequent supernatural powers. Since ancient times, there have been heroes who use martial arts to break the ban, because the strength of individuals will destroy social rules. As the saying goes, holding a knife, the desire to kill arises. There are all kinds of people with changing personalities. The stronger the individual, the more difficult it is to control. Therefore, if you can grasp the way to enter the supernatural, it will be conducive to the stability of civilization. It is also conducive to Qin Yu's rule. Only those who are talented and loyal will be given the opportunity to enter the supernatural. Shaking his head, Qin Yu sorted out the messy thoughts in his mind, and continued to look at the other items. Statue of the God of Wealth. This is a wonder. Qin Yu suddenly became interested. Statue of the God of Wealth. Primary wonder. Covers an area of 50 square meters. Weighs 1000 katis, and is 8.8 meters high. It is a Shinto civilization. The sculpture of the God of Wealth has the magical power of attracting talents from all directions. If it is placed at home, talents from all directions will come, increasing the owner's blessings and wealth. If it is placed in the market, it can also increase the economic development speed of the city. Frequent worship can increase people's business ability and brain thinking, or generate business inspiration and business opportunities, and open their minds. It takes 50,000 civilization points to build it. Qin Yu was shocked when he saw the effect of this wonder. This ability is obvious. This is an auxiliary wonder that increases economic strength. Although the effect of placing it at home is good, Qin Yu is a lord and the master of civilization. It may be a rare treasure to others, but it is like chicken ribs to him. However, if it is placed in the market, it must be an equally powerful economic wonder, which can not only increase economic development, but also continuously produce business talents. This is a wonder that is very conducive to development. Do you want a rich country and a strong people? Hurry up and put up a statue of the God of Wealth. Qin Yu happily put away the introduction and turned to look at other things. Heart knot, a blue quality item that can bind two people together so that they can understand each other's thoughts and have tacit trust. If it is between a master and a servant, the servant will always be loyal to the master and will not betray him, and the master will never doubt the servant. If it is between friends and brothers, the same principle applies. Blue item. Qin Yu raised his right hand and rubbed his chin with the knuckles of his hand, pretending to be thinking. At present, the loyalty of various talents in the dragon tribe is not low, but some of them do not need this item. Although the current loyalty is not low, it does not mean that it will not change in the future. If this item is used, you can ensure a worry-free life and tie up an important talent firmly. It's just that Qin Yu symbolizes that it will be used to win over talents in the future, so that it can play the greatest value. After closing the introduction, Qin Yu continued to look at other things. Wuwang Temple, a purple wonder building, a product of Shinto civilization. It is the temple of Wuwang God, the world's most powerful god. Building it can enhance the martial arts qualifications of the people in the civilization. The stronger the talent, the stronger the enhancement. In addition, it can also increase the understanding and speed of the people in the civilization in practicing martial arts. Anyone who enters the temple to worship the gods can get different martial arts bonuses, which last for 1 month. It takes 100,000 civilization points to build it. Wuwang Temple. Qin Yu's face suddenly showed surprise. The effect of this wonder building must be very powerful. It may be comparable to the special technology tree of martial arts civilization. Maybe with this combination, Qin Yu can really integrate the physical spirit into martial arts and create an extraordinary system that is not inferior to cultivation. Chapter 239. The Palace? Want to be king? After all, there are legends in this world about the body becoming holy and being invulnerable to the laws. Secondly, there are legends about shooting down the sun with an arrow, knocking down the pillars that support the sky in a rage, and drawing down the surging river with a breath. These mythical great men are all trained physical spirits. That is to say, the potential of physical spirits is not weaker than that of soul spirits. Although they cannot perform any witchcraft, being a reckless man who can open the sky with one hand is also quite domineering. This wonder can be said to be no weaker than the existence of the former King's Cauldron. But now the King's Cauldron has been upgraded to gold quality, which is much higher than the Wuwang Temple. However, this Wuwang Temple still has certain shortcomings for Qin Yu at present. That is, it is too damn expensive. It requires a full 100,000 civilization points. With the rapid development and crazy explosion of troops in recent times, Qin Yu's civilization points have reached the bottom. There are not many left. It is not enough to build the Wuwang Temple. It seems that Qin Yu needs to capture the purple quality copy pass as soon as possible. As long as the strategy is successful, it is possible to obtain special technology trees, huge civilization points, or peerless talents and high quality buildings. With Qin Yu's current strength, he has already entered the threshold of the silver rank. Why can Qin Yu, who is also a player, improve his combat power so quickly? The reason lies in the civilization Qianqi. Others need to fight an invasion war that lasts for a month to get item rewards. But Qin Yu is different. He only needs to start a few wars at random, and he can get item rewards regardless of victory or defeat. For example, he arranged 10 teams to experience 10 battles today. The larger the scale, the more rewards you get. If you work hard, you can even get the amount of items that others get in a year in one day. It's just that the explosion rate of the treasure chest in the invasion war is much higher than that of the primary civilization gold coins, and the war scale required for the intermediate civilization gold coins is not small, but the explosion rate is high. However, even so, the number and quality of Qin Yu's items are dozens of times faster than those of players of the same rank. Therefore, his ability can surpass other players at an incredible speed. There are still more than 20 days before the expiration of the exemption card, and Qin Yu still has time to develop for more than half a month. There is enough time to deal with the Museo clan in the western part of the grassland. Otherwise, when the war exemption card expires, other players of equal combat power will match him in the invasion war, and it will be very uncomfortable to be attacked by both sides. After closing the introduction of Wuwang Temple, Qin Yu continued to look at other items. Smelting blast furnace. It has very efficient smelting capabilities and can be used to produce various metal ingots, even meteorite iron ingots. The smelting blast furnace has very advanced smelting capabilities and can produce tens of millions of pounds of metal ingots per day, and can even produce refined iron ingots, with quality and output coexisting. This building can save a lot of manpower. The productivity of a system building can almost exceed that of dozens of man-made buildings. Take the current copper workshop as an example. Its output is less than 2% of the efficiency of the smelting blast furnace. If iron ore is obtained later, from mining to smelting, and then to processing and forging in the iron workshop, the two most labor-intensive, material-intensive, and time-consuming processes are all systematic and efficient. Therefore, it can be forged quickly and in large quantities, thus popularizing it throughout the army. Since the current technology for extracting thunder essence is mature, it is entirely possible to add thunder essence when forging ironware, to forge thunder iron weapons. Qin Yu had a few thunder iron weapons forged with a small amount of iron, or obtained at the previous trade fair. Thunder iron weapons are more powerful than thunder copper weapons, and are more suitable for fusion with thunder essence. Maybe it's because iron is harder than copper? Qin Yu shook his head and put away his messy thoughts and continued to look at other items. These are two identical buildings, both of blue quality. Automatic crossbow tower, a product of ancient martial arts civilization. Reserve crossbows in advance to achieve continuous firing effect, more powerful than bed crossbows, with a range of up to 300 meters. Easier and more convenient to operate manually, and can also be automatically fired, chasing the human body heat energy in the set direction to fire crossbows. This arrow tower will definitely be the end of siege equipment under continuous firing. Two automated crossbow towers. Qin Yu quickly understood after looking at the introduction. This kind of arrow tower is more powerful than bed crossbows, and bed crossbows are even very troublesome to fire, requiring many people to operate, and the attack interval is also very long. But the automated arrow tower is not only easy to control, but also can fire continuously. This is where the power lies. And it can actually achieve automated attacks, based on human body heat. It is hard to imagine that such a thing actually came from ancient civilization. The next item is a bronze siege tower, which Qin Yu just glanced at and skipped. The only feature of the whole is that this siege tower does not need to be pushed by manpower, but can be manually controlled and driven inside, and can quickly reach the city connected to the enemy. The bronze shell is also harder, and not easy to be destroyed. It is a siege weapon. The remaining three items are blue quality buildings. A 5,000-li orchard with special abilities. It not only contains 100 kinds of fruits, but Qin Yu can also adjust the planting area for each fruit, and then quickly produce fruits. All mature every 3 months. And this 5,000-li building area will automatically change the soil into soil suitable for growing fruits. The effect seems to be against the sky, but in fact, the effect is limited to fruits, but it can enrich people's livelihood. Qin Yu thinks it still has a great effect. It can effectively improve the happiness of the tribesmen. They yearn for life, work will be motivated, and the economy will rise. Qin Yu looked at the other two things. One is the building of the palace courtyard, and the other is the building of the Jinai Fang. There is nothing special about the former, it is just a palace complex. The area is about 10,000 square meters, which includes more than 30 palaces of various sizes. Looking at the introduction above, the scenery is very impressive. Colorful, fragrant, and there are all kinds of rockery, lotus ponds, flowers and green plants. Various palace buildings are arranged in the style of the ancient Chinese palace. Qin Yu was stunned. Isn't this a royal palace? It seems that this is reminding me that I should be king. Qin Yu couldn't help but chuckled. Nowadays, the tribal system is vaguely unsuitable for the current development of civilization, and calling a dynasty or an emperor seems a bit too exaggerated. After all, a dynasty with a population of only 200,000 is not only embarrassing to say, but also the various departments and official positions are messy and incomplete. Therefore, Qin Yu still planned to propose a reform of the kingship or feudal system first, and then establish a country and a name for the transition. During this period, he could slowly improve various class systems. However, these things had to wait until he conquered the entire grassland. As long as the grassland was taken, even hundreds of thousands of cavalry would not be a problem in the future. At that time, he would transition and develop for a period of time, and after the population, economy and various systems were unified, he would slowly propose the monarchy. Chapter 240, Founding of the Dragon Falls Protectorate. The reason why Qin Yu also considered the feudal system a relatively weak centralized system is because the current civilization is in the development period. The entire grassland is vast and rich in resources. He not only needs his men to conquer the country, but also needs the tribes that will join the dragon tribe in the future to be able to abide by the law and live in harmony. In addition, a sufficient population is required, so even if the territory is occupied, too many people cannot be killed. This will inevitably lead to chaos in the future. Therefore, the large tribes or tribes with higher loyalty will be divided. Or people and tribes who have made meritorious contributions in future wars will be divided. This move can reduce internal friction and contradictions in a short period of time, and secondly, it can make the people under his command more motivated to create meritorious deeds. This also requires a complete system of meritorious titles. Of course, Qin Yu naturally cannot create a group of princes, which will only add trouble to the future. His main purpose is to stabilize the internal forces first, and then things will be easy. Rules should be established slowly. If they are established all at once, many people will not accept them. Qin Yu naturally chose to boil the frog in warm water. The obedient and capable ones should be kept, and the crooked ones and the useless ones will be replaced. Qin Yu collected his thoughts and looked at the last building again. Fang. This is a building dedicated to textile clothing. The reason why it is called this name is that the clothes made from this building look as precious and exquisite as gold clothes. It has a function, but it is not big. It can be used to make some official uniforms, formal clothes, royal clothes and other clothes. In ancient times, etiquette rose very early, especially in the Zhou dynasty, and various etiquettes were too numerous to mention. Etiquette can also reflect the importance of a country and the great power of a country. It is indispensable. Qin Yu closed the introduction with satisfaction. In addition to these blue and purple items, there are about half green quality and half white quality items. Among them, there are 2 good weapons and the rest are relatively ordinary. A meteorite iron halberd weighs more than 40 kilograms. When it is waved, it is like a dragon and a tiger roaring, with amazing momentum and even more amazing power. A green feather fan has the effect of calming the mind and relieving fatigue. Qin Yu was going to give it to Shigu and Zuyi as a reward. After putting the things away, Qin Yu took out the meteorite halberd and placed it on the wooden table in front of him. "Come here, pass Shi Tongli over." Qin Yu shouted loudly to the outside. "Yes." The guard outside the door hurriedly responded and then slowly walked away. Not long after, the guard brought Shigu in. "Your subordinate Shigu," greets the clan leader. Shigu was wearing a bronze-to-legged armor, without any weapons on his body. At this time, he knelt respectfully to Qin Yu. Now that the great revenge has been avenged, it is all because of the help of the person in front of him, who fulfilled his wish, and everything now is also given by the person in front of him. He, Shigu, is a man of affection and righteousness, and he will protect his grudges. Therefore, he has great respect for the young man in front of him who is only in his early 20s, but already exudes a majestic aura. No need to be polite. Qin Yu smiled and waved his hand, then said, "I summoned you today to talk to you about your future arrangements. Take a look at the long weapon on the table. Do you like it?" Qin Yu gave a look to the guard beside him, and then the guard hurried over to pick up the meteorite iron long halberd on the table and slowly handed it to Shigu. This halberd weighs dozens of pounds, and is made of meteorite iron. It is indestructible and extremely sharp. It is the best divine weapon. The halberd is a heavy weapon. It can defeat cavalry in infantry battles, and is easy to move in horse battles. It is suitable for both offense and defense. Wherever the cold light reaches, people and ghosts are frightened. Listening to Qin Yu's narration, Shigu's eyes became more and more fond of it. "Take it. This is a reward for you to destroy the King Hu tribe and train more than 1,000 elite dinosaur cavalry. Thank you for the reward, Patriarch. I'm willing to die for you." Shigu bowed respectfully and then took the meteorite iron long halberd in the guard's hand, with a look of joy on his face. Recently, he has been learning to read with ZHU and others, and has learned a lot of idioms, which he is using now. Qin Yu was also very pleased after hearing this. After all, no ruler does not like his subordinates to be loyal. Looking at Shigu's joyful expression, Qin Yu silently took out another copper token and a copper box. "Shigu, listen to my orders," Qin Yu suddenly said seriously. The cold voice fell into Shigu's ears, which immediately shocked his expression, and then he responded respectfully, "I'm here. From today on, Shigu will serve as the Grand Protector of Langjiang Protectorate, responsible for commanding the entire army of the Protectorate, conquering the surrounding barbarians, building the surrounding land, and establishing a large territory for the tribe here. As he spoke, Qin Yu took out a copper token and threw it to Shigu, saying, "The power and position of the Protectorate is very heavy. In the future, this 1000 Thunder Copper Spear Corps and 1000 archers plus your 1000 dinosaur cavalry will all be under your command. Later, I will gradually increase the troops according to the progress and results of the expedition, and the dinosaur cavalry is expected to increase by 200 to 500 places per month. I will give you 500 new recruits to train every month, and the mount equipment will be gradually equipped. In addition, this copper box contains 10 communication bugs and 10 reconnaissance butterflies. Ask thee about their functions and uses. In addition, the 5 guards outside the door are all military talents that I have painstakingly cultivated. You need to reuse them in the march." Shigu took the copper box, holding a bronze token in his hand. Whenever he touched it, a purple electric current flashed by. On the front was written 3 profound characters: Protectorate of the Protectorate, and on the back was written Grand Protector Shigu. In addition, there was a pattern of dragons and phoenixes encircling each other on the edge. I will definitely live up to the expectations of the clan leader. Shigu, who knew that he was entrusted with an important task, was immediately excited. Qin Yu silently glanced at Shigu's loyalty at this time. Name: Shigu Loyalty 95. Qin Yu couldn't help but secretly say that this person was considered stable so far, and he was absolutely loyal. He waved his hand to say goodbye to Shigu, and the matter of the dinosaur civilization world came to an end. Qin Yu walked out slowly, and a crystal blue space gate appeared in front of him as soon as he was conscious. Qin Yu returned to Xianyu civilization with Yao Zion and others, as well as a group of guards and people from the Wudian. In a trance, everyone returned to the meeting hall of Langcheng. "You've worked hard recently. Everyone has 3 days off. Go back and have a good rest. Also, the guards will call Zuyi for me." Qin Yu waved his hand to indicate that everyone could go back. Not long after, Zuyi hurried over. "Meet the Lord." Zuyi stroked his sleeves and bowed. "No need to be polite. Please take a seat." Qin Yu smiled. The guards at the side hurriedly moved a chair over. "Thank you, Lord." Zuyi bowed and then slowly sat down. Qin Yu silently took out the green feather fan and ordered someone to hand it to Zuyi. Chapter 241 Establishment of the Internal Affairs Council. This item can calm the mind and relieve fatigue. You are usually very tired, so I give it to you. Qin Yu said with a smile. "Thank you for the gift, my lord. I dare not say I'm tired." Zuyi took the green feather fan and thanked him first before he began to observe it. I saw that the fan had 9 green feathers and the texture was hard and smooth like jade. It looked extraordinary. Every time I fanned it, I felt that my thoughts became clearer and the feeling of fatigue in my heart slowly dissipated and my whole body was filled with a sense of relaxation. It is really a wonderful thing. He thought to himself. You have been running around for many days. Now all the major cities in the civilization are prosperous. Zuyi, you have made an indelible contribution. Qin Yu praised with a smile and then continued. I want to establish the Internal Affairs Department, which will be responsible for the development policies and implementation of each city, handle the internal affairs of each city, and then manage and supervise all departments. From the biggest things to the trivial matters, they must be reviewed. You will temporarily take over the Internal Affairs Department, the position of the General Assistant of the Internal Affairs, with a monthly salary of 100 big dragon copper coins, responsible for reviewing many things, formulating strategies and policies, etc. In addition, you can handle the matter of recruiting talents for the Internal Affairs Department. Well, the single family courtyard in the east of the inner city is given to you. Thank you for your trust, my lord. I will do my best to be loyal. Zuyi responded excitedly. Everyone has a desire for merit and a desire for profit. No one likes to live a hard life. 100 big dragon copper coins are 10,000 small dragon copper coins, which is almost 10 times the monthly salary of ordinary people. The courtyard in the east of the city is even more valuable. It covers an area of hundreds of square meters and has an elegant environment. There are many flowers and plants moved from the front. Qin Yu nodded silently, and then he moved his mind and a blue light appeared in his hand that only he could see. Talent of King's Assistant, B-level superior. After learning, the target recognizes the talent of King's Assistant / effect. Those with this talent are good at making decisions and have a chance to solve the monarch's problems. When implementing the monarch's policies, the success rate increases by 50% and the implementation efficiency increases by 50%. This talent has been hidden for a long time and can finally be used. This talent is a perfect match for Zhu Yi's part-time job. Qin Yu moved his mind and gave the talent to Zhu Yi by default. The blue light in his hand suddenly hit Zhu Yi and flew into his mind. In a trance, Zhu Yi only felt that he suddenly had something extra, but he didn't know what it was. Maybe it was an illusion. He didn't care too much. Qin Yu checked Zhu Yi's new attribute panel. Name, Zhu Yi. Gender, male. Age, 24. Strength, constitution, agility, intelligence, command, battle talent, one-handed, talent 1, Mr. Brain, B-class superior, effect, good at making decisions. Increase your intelligence attribute by 20%. When the intelligence is accurate, you have a high probability of seeing through the enemy's schemes. Talent 2, Talent of King's Assistant, B-class superior, effect. Those with this talent are good at making decisions, have a chance to solve the monarch's problems, and when implementing the monarch's policies, the success rate increases by 50%. And the implementation efficiency increases by 50%. Satiation. 75. Loyalty. 98. Qin Yu was shocked when he looked at the newly generated attribute panel. In addition to the new talent, Zhu Yi's original 4-star intelligence was also upgraded to 5 stars. Is this a bonus brought by talent? Qin Yu looked a little puzzled, but he didn't express it for too long. Seeing that he had almost finished his instructions, he waved his hand to let Zhu Yi leave. It is very possible that talent can increase the upper limit of attributes. He also has a talent of Tiger and Leopard Commander, which is not low in rank. He is currently considering whether to give it to Shigu in the dinosaur civilization world or to Lin Shi in Nanwang Town. The former Shigu is top-notch in both attributes and abilities, and Tiger and Leopard Commander is suitable for defensive generals. Even if it is given to Shigu, it is just icing on the cake and will not be maximized. The latter has a mature and stable personality, strong internal political ability, and is calm in doing things, which is very suitable for defending the city. And his talent, long-term warfare and careful planning, will sooner or later be able to increase the command attribute to 5 stars. With the Tiger and Leopard Commander, the whole person will be able to become a top military talent. Not only is it suitable for this lower level talent, it can also maximize its effect. Maybe it can also increase the basic attributes. Qin Yu only thought for a moment and decided. It seems that he has to find time to go to Nanwang Town and see if Lin Shi is really as strong in governance as the Shadow Guard said. Although what the Shadow Guard said must be true, because they will not betray Qin Yu. They are 100% loyal. But as the saying goes, seeing is worse than hearing. Qin Yu still wants to see it with his own eyes. After all, he is an important figure in the future, and Qin Yu also has an important task to rely on. Nanwang Town is just a springboard for the other party to exercise his ability. Time slowly came to the afternoon. At this time, the sky was slightly dark, and the sky was full of clouds. Maybe it will rain tomorrow. Qin Yu looked up at the sky and couldn't help smacking his lips. He planned to place those buildings in the afternoon. The location of the iron workshop was placed in the forging and smelting area, and Qin Yu placed them there together with the smelting blast furnace. Iron workshop. Introduction. A building that can quickly forge various types of iron. Drawing type. Iron tools. Iron farm tools. Iron weapons. Extraction probability. 50%. 40%. 10%. Maximum productivity. 300. Currently unlocked iron farm tool drawings, none. Currently unlocked iron tool drawings, none. Currently unlocked iron weapon drawings, none. Smelting blast furnace. Introduction. It can quickly smelt and melt various types of metals into metal ingots. Maximum productivity. 300, 100,000 Jin of metal ingots per day per productivity. Qin Yu glanced at the properties of the two buildings. The iron workshop was functioning normally, but the smelting blast furnace is different. 1 point of productivity can produce 100,000 Jin of metal ingots per day. 300 productivity means 30 million Jin of metal ingots, which is about 15,000 tons. Such terrifying efficiency. Qin Yu was shocked. However, this is just a metal ingot, which can be more convenient for forging various tools. Although the effect is very powerful, it is not bad. If it is a daily production of tens of millions of weapons, it would be against the sky. Qin Yu smiled and cursed himself for having delusions. After placing the two buildings, Qin Yu took a carriage and drove the guards all the way to the south city of Dragon City. Wanghu Market in the South City is considered the most lively and prosperous market in Dragon City. It has hundreds of industries and is complete. It was also a market that Zhu Yi focused on developing. Because it has everything, is officially managed, and has stable and favorable prices, the flow of people here has become the first in Langcheng over time. Qin Yu couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the streets full of people. Compared with the solemnity and majesty of the inner city, the atmosphere of the market in the outer city is quite strong. The difference between the two is really like heaven and earth. Qin Yu came here this time just to build the statue of the god of wealth. As for the Wu Wang temple, his current civilization points do not support his construction. I don't know if he is too poor or the things are too expensive. Alas. He sighed while sitting in the carriage. Chapter 242 Powerful Purple Wonder. South City, Wanghu Market. In the market, there is a constant flow of people, noise everywhere, a hustle and bustle, full of the atmosphere of the market. At this time, Qin Yu found a suitable place to place the statue of the god of wealth. This place is the intersection of the market, located in the central area. The roads around are wide and crowded. Qin Yu ordered people to temporarily clear the crowd around and isolate this area, and then unseal it. After he placed the statue of the god of wealth, I saw him move his consciousness, and a dazzling purple light flashed in his hand. The purple light fell to the ground as Qin Yu threw it forward and slowly turned into a stone statue. After Qin Yu spent 50,000 civilization points to confirm the construction, the stone statue gradually became clear. A stone statue of a kind-looking white-bearded old man gradually appeared, and various colors also spread. He was wearing a festive red robe, holding a jade ruai in his left hand and a gold ingot in his right hand. There were white clouds under his feet, and he looked like an older mortal flying in the clouds. Qin Yu looked at the stone statue, and felt that everything would go smoothly. He was secretly surprised, and then opened the attribute panel of this wonder to check. Statue of the god of wealth. Primary wonder, attribute 1, wealth comes from all directions, and all kinds of treasures gather wealth. The country is rich, and it can ensure that all the money will come back. Attribute 2, increase the current city's economic development speed by 100%. Attribute 3, people who often worship have a chance to awaken the seal level superior talents glib, abundant wealth, home of merchants, lucky fortune, a lot of money and good business, etc. Attribute 4, worshipping the sculpture has a chance to solve the dilemma related to money in the brain, and has a chance to generate business inspiration and enhance the thinking about business. Attribute 5, wealth is not stained with crooked and evil spirits, and the number of unscrupulous merchants in the city who make ill-gotten gains is reduced. Attribute 6, the people are rich and the country is strong, increasing the scene of economic prosperity in the city, and reducing the scene of broken families and demise. Qin Yu looked at this attribute, and couldn't help showing a satisfied look on his face. This wonder must have reached the top level in terms of economy alone, not to mention other places. This added attribute is already very strong for economic development. It is worth spending 50,000 civilization points. Its attribute 1 can ensure the stability of the national treasury, attribute 2 can make the city prosperous, and attribute 3 is even more powerful. Although there is a probability of obtaining Class C talents, it does not mean that these talents are weak. The difference between strong and weak also depends on which aspect. If compared with business alone, these talents are definitely top-notch, and the reason why they can only be rated Class C is because the level weight of types such as politics, military, and extraordinary accounts for more. These business talents can produce a powerful business talent if you get one casually. In the future, these talents will gradually emerge and will drive large-scale economic development in the future. Its attributes 4, 5, and 6 are also not weak, allowing more people to have the idea of getting rich, making all the black-hearted merchants who cheat people disappear, and making all those who spend their wealth lavishly disappear, reducing the scene of broken families. The future will present a prosperous and strong country. Therefore, a spectacle is a spectacle, and the power of the ability is the existence that can make the entire civilization undergo a huge change. After a while, Qin Yu left with satisfaction. As the soldiers blocking this area slowly left, many wanderers gathered immediately. When did such a huge statue appear? Everyone looked around in confusion. Yes, whose statue is this? We can't worship it randomly. Look, there is a stele with words on the side, which says the image of the god of wealth, who is in charge of the world's financial resources. God of wealth? My family has a small business and I have to worship. A female tribesman bowed and worshipped the sculpture. Some of the others did not believe it, while others followed suit and began to worship. Hey? After worshipping, I suddenly felt that my mind was open and cheerful. My cloth shop has just opened, and there is not much business. I suddenly have an idea, a young man suddenly said in great joy. It really is the god of wealth. He bowed to the statue again, and then turned and left in a hurry. Is it so effective? Some people looked at the back of the man who left with half belief and half doubt. Soon after, this scene appeared frequently, and the statue of the god of wealth in Wanghufang City gradually became famous. Many businessmen and hawkers went to worship it. As for the next few days, some people made a small fortune because of it, some people's business gradually turned from loss to profit, and some people's business ability suddenly increased greatly, creating a considerable industry. This is all a later story. After leaving, Qin Yu returned to the inner city. He found a suitable location for the golden clothing workshop. Then he ordered people to hire a group of tribesmen to enter and start operating the construction and weaving clothes. At present, the clothing and textiles in the dragon tribe are mainly made of silk, linen, cotton, animal skins, and wool. Linen and animal skins are the most popular in summer, and silk is second, because it is very expensive. Wool and cotton are only bought when it is cold. Looking at the sky, it was just noon. Qin Yu thought for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, "Guards, prepare the carriage, and go to Panshan military camp." The guards beside him responded immediately and went to prepare the carriage. Western border of the grassland, Multi-sequential city. This is a city close to the western marsh, less than 50 miles from the border of the grassland. Although it is a city, the walls on all four sides are only 4 meters high, and the whole city wall is made of wooden piles, with low defense. Most of the city is still tents, with only a few wooden and stone houses, which retain many primitive buildings and customs. This is the only city of the Multi-sequential clan in the western part of the grassland. Most of the other branches have no defensive fortifications, and at most a circle of fences are built around the tribe. At this time, in a tent, several powerful figures in the clan are discussing matters again. Now that the western marsh has settled down, we should look east. The witch of the Multi-sequential clan sat in the main seat, and said slowly in a low voice, "Woo, are we going to attack the dragon tribe in the east? In the past month, they have indeed not attacked us as they said." The head of the Multi-sequential clan said. After hearing this, an elder objected. As the old saying goes, how can you allow others to sleep soundly on your bed? If you don't take action today, they will take action tomorrow. Don't you understand the principle of striking first to gain the upper hand? The old voice said sternly. The head of the Multi-sequential clan was educated, but did not get angry. Instead, he smiled bitterly and said, "Mr. Shang, you don't know that when we were dealing with the forces in the western marsh, the dragon tribe cleared the entire grassland except our territory. Now they are very powerful and have a large population. Their strength has long surpassed that of the past." Chapter 243, The Wood Goblin's Intentions, the Spirit Gathering Formation. In this case, we should attack earlier. Defeat them before they can react. From now on, the whole grassland will belong to the Multi-sequential clan. Humph, how can a war be decided by your words? If we win, we will lose countless good men of the Multi-sequential clan. If we lose, the entire Muxio clan may perish. Old man, I respect you as an elder, but don't take advantage of your age. The head of the Muxio clan said angrily. The elder on the side, his face flushed red, was about to stand up and speak. Bang! There was a loud bang on the wooden table in front of him. Okay, get out if you keep making noise, the witch of the Muxio clan said in a displeased voice. After hearing this, several people immediately became honest and gradually quieted down. After a moment, the witch of the Muxio clan began to speak slowly. There will be casualties in war. This is unavoidable. The war is waged for the better survival of the clan. How can two neighboring clans get along in friendship? As the old saying goes, make friends with those far away and attack those near. This war is inevitable, so you should all prepare. As soon as the witch spoke, he immediately won everyone's approval. After hearing this, the chief of the Muxio clan sighed and said, since you have decided to start a war, let me tell you my opinion. The dragon tribe has built many cities made of materials as hard as stone during this period of time. There are only 4 cities close to our territory. There is 1 big city and 4 small cities. Since they were built not long ago, no one has moved in. There are only a small number of garrisons. Therefore, I propose to send troops to capture these cities first, and then slowly advance inward based on them. We don't have strong cities. If we can capture the opponent's cities, we can not only reduce our losses by relying on the opponent's cities, but also reduce the losses of our subsequent sieges. After hearing this, the witch of the Muxio clan nodded with satisfaction. The siege will be the responsibility of the clan leader, and the big leader Mukui will be responsible for carrying out a war of attrition in the territory of the dragon tribe, blocking their reinforcement, and cooperating with the clan leader. If there is an unexpected situation, send people back to ask for help in time. This time, the slave army and puppet army will be the main force, and the affiliated tribes will be the backbone to reduce the losses of our own tribe as much as possible. We understand. Several people responded after hearing this. The head of the Muxio clan did not hesitate. Since he chose to start a war, he must be vigorous and resolute, and not give the other side a chance to breathe. Pan's Han military camp. At this time, Qin Yu took a carriage and rushed to Pan's Han military camp with 200 guards. When he arrived, the sky was already dark, and the sun slowly set in the west. It would be dusk soon. Your subordinate, Yun Yi, greets the clan leader. Seeing that the visitor was the clan leader, the garrison general Yun Yi hurriedly came to greet him with his men. No need to be polite. Qin Yu waved his hand and led people in. This time, he came to place the meditation hall and the spirit gathering formation. If the seal on the spiritual energy spring can be released, the wizards in the witch hall can speed up the cultivation speed several times or even dozens of times. Because Qin Yu was afraid of accidents caused by the spread of spiritual energy, he had been prohibiting people from touching the seal. Now that there is a spirit gathering formation, it can prevent the spiritual energy from leaking out, which solves Qin Yu's worries. Who is in charge of guarding the underground palace now? Qin Yu asked Yun Yi while walking towards the entrance of the underground palace above the cave. To the clan leader, it is Lord Yao Zan's dragon and tiger guards, and there are 100 people guarding below. Qin Yu nodded slightly. Everyone climbed all the way to the top cave and then walked into a dark cave. 2 guards lit torches, slowly illuminating the cave and dispelling the darkness. The pair of red eyes of the sheep-headed statue standing in front of him turned from flashing red eyes to eyes that are always glowing red. Perhaps it is because the spiritual energy underground has been leaked more than before. As a result, this head-raising sculpture absorbs a lot of it, allowing it to stay lit. Qin Yu shook his head. The so-called horned goat god is dead, the body has been burned, and the system also prompts that the task has been completed. All signs show that the horned goat god can no longer be resurrected. He doesn't need to worry too much. Then, led by several guards, the group walked down the stone steps into the ground. On the walls of the dark corridor, the firelight reflected a series of swaying shadows, like ghosts sealed in the walls. After walking down for about half an hour, the group finally arrived at the underground palace. I greet the clan leader. Seeing the newcomer, Yao Zan instantly interrupted his cultivation state and stood up to respond respectfully. No need to be polite. Qin Qin Yu waved his hand and continued to walk inside, all the way to the bronze door in front. Clan leader Jiang Rong gathered with more than 40 wizards. Well, ask someone to move the stone seat away. Qin Yu looked at the huge stone seat in front of him, and a grey-white energy body was gushing out from the gap under the stone seat. Qin Yu's consciousness moved, and a purple light appeared in his hand. It was a huge array disc, and thousands of complex array patterns were engraved on the array disc. With the joint efforts of everyone, the stone seat was slowly pushed open. A trembling sound suddenly resounded around, and the spring became restless, as if a volcano erupted. A large amount of spiritual energy gushed out, and flowed out along the bronze door. Qin Yu's consciousness moved, and he threw the array plate towards the location of the spring. The array plate, which was originally nearly 1 meter in diameter, grew 3 or 4 times in size the moment it was thrown out. The purple stream of light instantly covered the spring. The spiritual energy flowing around also stabilized. It's done. Seeing that things were going well, Qin Yu smiled. He slowly opened the attribute plate of the spirit gathering array. Spirit gathering formation. Current spiritual energy concentration 0.5 times. Can be freely adjusted from 1 to 100 times, but please note that too high energy concentration will lead to excessive spiritual pressure, which will cause the meridians to be broken, the danshan to burst, the human body to vaporize. Current spiritual gathering range 50 meters in radius. Can be freely adjusted between 10 meters and 3000 meters. Note, if the range is too large, the energy concentration will be limited and cannot reach 100 times. Attribute 1. Practicing in the spirit gathering formation will increase the practice speed by 200%. Attribute 2. The spirit gathering formation can accelerate the growth rate of spiritual plants and cultivate ordinary species into spiritual seeds. Attribute 3. The spirit gathering formation can not only suppress spirits, but also gather spirits. The range can be set to absorb energy substances within a radius of 5000 meters. Qin Yu looked at the attribute board and nodded. The most important ability of the spirit gathering formation has taken effect. Qin Yu didn't care about the other additional attributes. It was good to have them, which was a small surprise. Jiang Rong, this formation can seal the spiritual energy and prevent it from escaping. You lead everyone to continue practicing, and I will gradually adjust the concentration of spiritual energy. If someone can't stand it, they can speak up. Qin Yu finished speaking, and Jiang Rong nodded, and led everyone to enter the state of practice. The spiritual energy around them was slowly absorbed into everyone's body. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 The Deep Crystal Palace. If it is a soul spirit seed, then when the spirit enters the body, it will flush the spiritual sea of consciousness and then be absorbed into the spirit seed. If it is a physical spirit seed, then when the spirit enters the body, it will flush the physical meridians, making the physical body stronger, and finally the remaining spirit will flow into the spirit seed. Qin Yu slowly adjusted the range of the spirit to a radius of 50 meters, and then began to slowly increase the concentration of the spirit little by little. From 0.5 times to 1 times, 3 times, 5 times, 8 times, 9 times. Seeing that the people in front were a little uncomfortable, Qin Yu finally confirmed the concentration of the spirit to be 10 times. Patriarch, it's the limit. Jiang Rong stood up first, glanced at the status of everyone, and then spoke. Qin Yu laughed and said, I'm afraid it's the limit of others, but not your limit, Jiang Rong. After that, Qin Yu came to the bronze door on the other side. The area of this hall is thousands of square meters, which is enough to place. Qin Yu's consciousness moved, and a dazzling purple light flashed in his right hand. He threw it forward, and the purple light suddenly became stronger. The shadow of a deep hole with an area of 1000 square meters and a height of 6 meters slowly appeared and solidified. After about 3 or 5 minutes, the construction of this meditation hall was gradually completed. This is a building that seems to be built of deep black crystal, and the whole is like a black crystal palace. Deep and mysterious, the smooth crystal wall reflects the shadows of everyone. Qin Yu walked in slowly. A solemn and quiet atmosphere came to his face, and the restlessness in his heart was gradually smoothed out, and his mind seemed to be much more relaxed. In the crystal hall, hundreds of black jade cushions were scattered in an orderly manner. What was surprising was that this black jade cushion was actually floating in the air. There was a stream of air under the cushion that kept gushing upwards and condensed into the black jade cushion. Then, every time it was washed, the black jade cushion became deeper. It seems that these air currents must have some magical use. However, Qin Yu did not dare to move because it might destroy the purple building. Qin Yu silently opened the attribute panel of the meditation hall. Meditation Hall. Introduction. A product of wizard civilization. It is an excellent treasure for cultivation. Attribute 1. The black jade futon has the effect of increasing 100% enlightenment. Attribute 2. The black jade futon has the effect of increasing the cultivation speed by 100%. Attribute 3. The black jade futon has the effect of increasing the absorption speed of material energy by 100%. Attribute 4. The meditation hall can condense and produce divine enlightenment airflow, which can gradually consolidate the black jade futon, so that its ability does not dissipate, and its quality slowly improves. Sure enough, the airflow under the black jade futon is not an ordinary thing. After looking at the attribute panel, Qin Yu knew that this airflow was originally called divine enlightenment airflow. However, Qin Yu did not have time to study anything else for the time being. As time passed, the movement here attracted Yao Xian, Jiang Rang and others. Looking at the two people coming over, Qin Yu said seriously, "This building is called the Meditation Hall. It can increase people's understanding and cultivation speed, but it can only be used by 100 people at the same time. Therefore, I decided to set up a merit system. Practicing here requires paying merit according to time, and merit can only be obtained by doing something meaningful. You two will fill in the specific matters by yourselves. Resources need to be given priority to those who are capable. This is the most fair. It's getting late. I'm going back to Dragon City first." Qin Yu finished speaking and turned away with the guards. "We respectfully send off the clan leader and wish you a safe journey." Jiang Rang and others immediately saluted respectfully. The western border of the dragon tribe. An unnamed town. There are only 200 Thunder Copper Spearmen and 100 archers stationed in the town. There are more than 40 arrow towers built around the town. From a distance, some arrow towers are standing with sparse figures, while others are empty. Xiao Han, when his dinner, a middle-aged man in his 30s holding an archer standing in the arrow tower was leaning on the wooden fence and looking down while shouting. At this time, the sky was already dark, and the sun had set. Many people's stomachs began to growl. "It's almost time, Uncle Lee. Some venison has just been shipped over from Langcheng today. Let's have roasted venison today." The young man called Xiao Han laughed and responded, then called a dozen young soldiers of about his age to start processing the ingredients. Everyone looked around from time to time, shouting and chatting from time to time. No one noticed that a group of straw men were crawling on the grass a few hundred meters around. These straw men were made of hay, but what was strange was that they could actually move. There were as many as 700 or 800 hay men crawling in the grass and slowly approaching the town ahead. Since the straw men lie in the grass, their effect is more than 10 times better than the grass ghillie suit. If you don't stare at it carefully for a while, it is difficult to find any abnormality. While everyone was still chatting, countless straw men had already climbed under the city wall. "Xiao Han, remember to sprinkle salt after the roasted venison is cooked." The middle-aged man standing on the arrow tower shouted down with a smile. "Uncle Lee." The young boy Xiao Han turned the roasted meat on the charcoal and looked up at the arrow tower. He was shocked. "What the hell? The straw man is alive? Question mark? Uncle Lee, be careful. Everyone be alert. There is an enemy attack." The young boy Xiao Han looked shocked, shouting at the top of his voice, and ran to pick up his weapons. At this time, hundreds of straw men suddenly launched an attack, catching everyone off guard. I saw the 3 straw men climbed up the arrow tower, where the middle-aged man was. The middle-aged man was stunned when he heard the shouting below. It was too late to draw the bow and shoot arrows at this time. He was about to draw the dagger at his waist to fight back, A sharp straw man's arm suddenly stabbed at his neck. The middle-aged man was also a veteran who had experienced more than a dozen wars, and his physical fitness and combat experience were not weak. He dodged to the side and stabbed the dagger in his hand quickly. Wow. The dagger stabbed into the straw man's chest and abdomen, but to the surprise of the middle-aged man, the other party seemed to have no reaction, and the two sharp arms stabbed again in an instant. The middle-aged man's pupils shrank instantly. Puff. A mouthful of blood slowly flowed out of his mouth, and the two sharp arms of the straw man pierced into his exposed skin. Tragedy continued, and dozens of arrow towers were attacked one after another, and blood flowed down the arrow towers. A soldier covered in blood shouted before his death, "Cut off their heads. Their weakness is the head." After the voice fell, the man gradually lost his breath. The rest of the soldiers in the town took up their weapons and began to fight with the many straw men. The young boy Zhao Han quickly found a way to restrain the straw men. Chapter 245, Border Attack. War begins. He held the spear and used his consciousness to connect the weapon in his hand. The originally black spear instantly emitted purple lightning patterns. Looking at the more than 10 straw men who gathered, the young boy Zhao Han swung the spear in his hand and swept it across. In an instant, his momentum was like a dragon. Where the spearhead swept, lightning exploded, and more than 10 straw puppets were broken in half. Lightning restrains them. Everyone, use your consciousness to construct thunder soldiers and show the power of lightning. While the young boy Zhao Han waved his spear to beat many straw puppets back, he shouted to remind the people around him. The straw puppets that suddenly attacked killed about 60 people and began to lose their remaining strength, resulting in a large number of casualties. Although there are many straw men, their bodies are too fragile. Once touched by lightning, they become extremely fragile and can be easily blocked. If there is no power of lightning, and it is only used as a weapon, then the straw man will show its original flexibility. But at this time, the original advantage no longer existed after the town defenders used the power of thunder and lightning. Kill. The captain of the defending army quickly gained the upper hand. After integrating the army, there were originally as many as 800 straw puppets, but after half an hour, only less than 200 were killed. The straw puppets only had 2 hands as attack weapons, and although they were sharp, they almost lost their attack power when they touched armor. They were only effective when attacking the enemy's position without armor protection, and the attackers' moves were extremely clumsy. Therefore, when facing the armored soldiers of the dragon tribe, they fell into a disadvantage. Soon, under the leadership of the captain of the defending army, many straw puppets were killed, and the defenders also paid the lives of nearly 90 soldiers. This was because a sudden attack of the straw puppets caught the defenders off guard, so the loss was not small. Captain, there are still enemies in the west of the city. The young man Zhao Han wiped the blood off his face, then raised his hand and pointed to the west. The captain of the defending army looked intently. A 1,000-man army appeared a few hundred meters to the west of the city. Although they did not seem to have complete armor and weapons, they were outnumbered and dark. For a moment, many defenders felt a great pressure in their hearts. Zhao Han, go connect the communication bug and inform General Yuming of the situation here. The captain of the garrison frowned and said, his face was a little heavy at this time. There were only more than 200 defenders left in the town, and the archers had suffered heavy losses. They had just experienced a fierce battle, and the lightning control power in their weapons had been consumed by more than half. To be honest, he was not very confident that he could hold the city if the army outside the city attacked. Yes, Captain. The young man clenched his fist and saluted, then hurried to communicate with the communication bug to pass the information to a nearby big city. Western border. This is the only big city built on the border of the dragon tribe. There are 5,000 defenders in the city, and Yuming is responsible for garrisoning. In addition to the 3,000 cavalry of the Dragon Cavalry Battalion, there are also 1,000 Thunder Copper Spearmen and 1,000 archers. At this time, on the west wall, Yuming led a group of troops with neat equipment and stood on the wall. Looking west along Yuming's gaze, a few hundred meters away, there were dense figures stretching for miles. It seemed that there were more than 10,000 people. General, the communication bug intelligence said that the 4 surrounding towns were attacked by the enemy and were requesting support. I have passed the information to Dragon City. A lieutenant quickly climbed up the wall and came to Yuming's side to report. Well, go down, gather the Dragon Cavalry Battalion, and prepare for battle. Yuming waved his hand. His expression was heavy at this time. The number of troops outside the city seemed to be nearly 20,000, while there were only 5,000 defenders in the city, and 3,000 of them were cavalry, and could not participate in the battle to defend the city. After thinking for a while, Yuming immediately said, the Dragon Cavalry Battalion will divide 2,000 people, each of whom will be divided into 500 cavalrymen, and rush to the surrounding towns for support. As soon as the voice fell, a captain immediately ran down the city wall, rode on a warhorse, and led his cavalry to gallop towards the surrounding towns. The dense sound of horse hooves was like thunder on the ground, spreading to all directions. Li Tongwei, you are responsible for commanding the defense of the city, and I will lead the remaining 1,000 cavalrymen out of the city to interfere. I understand. Yuming nodded slightly, holding a fine iron dragon spear, and walked down the city wall. Woo, a dull and heavy horn sounded suddenly. Attack. Mu Kui, the chief of the Muzio clan, gave an order, and began to order more than 5,000 slave soldiers and more than 5,000 straw puppets and wooden puppets to launch an attack. For a time, the momentum was huge. The dense shadows of the army began to spread towards the city ahead. A slave leader waved a straw whip and drove the half-dressed slaves to run towards the city. The so-called slave army is difficult to judge its combat effectiveness. The clothes on their bodies can be said to be half-dressed, and the weapons in their hands can be said to be 100 flowers blooming. Many slaves came up with a wooden stick, a few had stone tools, very few had bone tools, and some of the better ones might have iron tools. The puppet army mixed with the siege team, among which the straw man's weapon only relied on a pair of sharp arms, while the wooden man puppets still held some iron or bone tools in their hands. This should be the top combat power in this siege team. With the sound of the horns, the enemy's siege army kept approaching. Li Tongwei, who was in charge of commanding the defense of the city, estimated the distance, and then immediately shouted, "Fire the crossbow." As soon as the voice fell, the soldiers defending the city pushed the large yellow crossbow above the city. The large yellow crossbow with a range of hundreds of meters. This big city has 6. Fire. Everyone worked hard to load the giant copper crossbow arrows, and then slowly pulled the crossbow. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, a series of violent air-breaking sounds suddenly sounded, and the momentum of the crossbow arrows seemed to break through the sky, and the power was so fierce that it seemed to be able to penetrate the mountains. One by one, the giant crossbow arrows penetrated into the enemy siege team, instantly killing dozens of people. The moment the crossbow arrows penetrated the square formation, it was like a string of strings. After killing 5 or 6 people, there was still enough power to shoot. Each crossbow arrow would not lose its power unless it killed more than 10 people. However, it was a bit disadvantageous against the wooden puppet. Although the giant crossbow arrows shot at the wooden puppet could smash it, the remaining power was exhausted. Fire! 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 As Li Tongwei, who was guarding the city, kept giving orders, everyone manipulated the 6 large yellow crossbows and continuously fired fiercely at the attacking enemy army. Although the casualties were not heavy, it was definitely a very shocking blow to morale. However, the slave soldiers in this team had developed a very strong fear because they had been suppressed and whipped by the slave foreman for a long time. Compared with the enemy's crossbows, they were more afraid of the whips in the hands of the slave foreman. Chapter 246. Qin Yu was furious. Anyone who offends me must be punished. Dragon City, East Gate. A carriage escorted by hundreds of soldiers slowly drove into the city. Patriarch. Patriarch. Two cavalrymen heard the noise and rode their horses at full speed. Stop. Patriarch. Stop the carriage. Clang. The sound of swords being drawn rang out. 6 or 7 guards in front drew their swords and stopped the 2 cavalrymen. Liu Yuan, the commander of the 1st Battalion of the Scout Army, wants to see the Patriarch. There is urgent military information. The leading cavalryman immediately dismounted and bowed to report his identity. Let him in. A cold voice came from the carriage. The general of the Imperial Guards hurriedly responded with a salute. Yes, clan leader. The curtain of the carriage was opened, and the cavalry scout captain Liu Yuan slowly walked over and said, reporting to the clan leader, Intelligence has come from the western border that the Museo clan has integrated its army and is attacking 4 border towns and 1 city at the same time. There is no news of its fall. General Yuming has sent a message asking for help. The situation is urgent. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Yu's brows frowned instantly. The small Museo clan, who had just quelled the war in the western swamp, dared to attack the dragon tribe. Qin Yu sneered in his heart. Did they give themselves some courage by conquering a few backward primitive tribes? Come on, Qin Yu said angrily in a deep voice. The angry voice frightened Liu Yun, who was standing beside him, and trembled in his heart. How long has this information been received? Qin Yu looked at the scout captain under the carriage with a sharp look and asked. Upon hearing this, Liu Yun hurriedly bowed and replied, to report to the clan leader, less than half an hour. Qin Yu sat in the carriage and thought for a moment, then immediately shouted, pass my military order. Order Li to be the commander-in-chief, Ji to be the deputy commander, lead 800 wolf riders and 3000 dragon riders to the battlefield in the western border, to support General Yuming. Order Yao Zhan to lead more than 150 giant tiger riders, carrying 3 days of food, to invade the territory of the Museo clan. Anyone who raises an army to resist, will be killed without mercy. Order Ya to be the commander-in-chief, Zhu Yi to be the military advisor. Integrate 5000 Thunder Bronze Spear troops, 1000 Divine Archery battalions, 2000 archers, 1000 Bronze Shield troops, and 1000 Shield and Spear troops, to rush to the western border city. Order Jiang Li to lead 2000 Shield Axe troops and 500 archers, to escort the army's food and grass to the western border city. There must be no delay. Order Yan Tuan Muhu of Huxian Town, Lin Shi of Nanwang Town, Yun Wu of Futeng Town, Hu Pio of Panhu City, and the remaining generals in Langcheng to rush to the meeting hall immediately. The voice resounded deafeningly all around. Scouts and cavalrymen rushed to various places to convey the patriarch's military order. The various armies in Langcheng gathered at a terrifying speed and then rushed out of the city to the front line. The main combat army, that was not a grain transport team, only brought 3 days of military rations, and the cavalry only brought 1 day's military rations to the western border. In a city meeting hall. At this time, there were 2 rows of people standing below in the meeting hall, making the originally empty hall a little crowded. Qin Yu sat on the high platform, expressionless, and it was hard to tell whether he was happy or angry. The pressure that the superiors have carried since ancient times made everyone in the hall dare not look up. After a moment of silence, Qin Yu slowly spoke. The Museo clan was the first to break the peace agreement between the 2 clans, and now they have gone back on their word and sent troops to attack our clan's western border town. Hundreds of soldiers died in battle, and they must pay for this blood debt with blood. The cold voice mixed with anger spread throughout the hall. Chief, my grizzly tribe must bear the brunt, and 2000 grizzly warriors are willing to go to the battlefield. Yan Tu, the garrison commander of Grizzly Town, spoke first at this time. Everyone looked at Yan Tu of the grizzly tribe and expressed his attitude, and immediately cursed him inwardly as a thief. Then they all expressed their willingness to go to the border, to resist the Museo clan. Qin Yu glanced down, and then stopped at Lin Shi. Lin Shi, why don't you speak? Lin Shi was stunned after hearing this, and then quickly responded, to the clan leader, the military strength of Nanwang Town is low, with less than 500 people, so my subordinates did not take the initiative to petition. Qin Yu nodded slightly, and then said in a deep voice, I intend to take over the entire grassland, and the dragon tribe will be the only one in the future. Therefore, today I will use the power of the entire tribe to give the Museo clan a thundering blow and let them see who is the overlord of the grassland. Pass on my military order. The Dogman tribe will send out 2000 troops, led by Hu Pio. The Grizzly tribe will send out 2000 troops, led by Muhu, and Yan Tu will be the military advisor. The Futeng tribe will send out 1000 troops, led by Yun Wu, and Nanwang Town will send out 200 troops, led by Lin Shi. All of the above people should organize their troops as soon as possible and gather in Langcheng. The next morning, they will go to the expedition with the army. As soon as Qin Yu finished speaking, his subordinates raised their hands and said, we'll listen to your orders. After everyone finished speaking, they left the hall and hurried back to reorganize the army. Qin Yu looked at the remaining people in the hall and continued to speak. Jiwoo will lead 2,000 guards, 3,000 archers, 1,000 archery battalions, 8,000 spearmen, 3,000 slingers, 2,000 elite sword and shield soldiers, and 1,000 behemoth legions. They will gather at the west gate early the next morning and carry half a month's food and grass for the army. Order Jiang Rong to return to Lancheng. Bearded Bear and Crow, you two will assist Jiang Rong in commanding the remaining troops to defend. Those who offend me will be punished, even if they are far away. I want to let the Muzio clan understand clearly that the light of a firefly dares not compete with the sun and the moon. A certain border town in the western border. The high walls outside the town were flowing with blood from top to bottom. On the walls, corpses were scattered all over, and broken limbs and arms were scattered all over the ground. The blood dyed the remaining clothes on the corpses blood red. A touch of desolation blew in the wind. Only more than 20 people were left on the wall, holding their weapons and barely standing. I'm dead. A middle-aged man in his 40s, with grey hair and arms covered with dried blood, sighed and said, "Wait a little longer. The reinforcement from the big city will be here soon. Wait a little longer." Han Yu muttered, while leaning against the corner of the wall with his spear in his arms. If you can survive, Zhao Han, you will be promoted to a lieutenant at least, right? A young soldier laughed and joked. Yes, our lieutenant is dead. With Zhao Han's skills and today's merits, a lieutenant will be a lieutenant for sure. The main person Han Yu smiled freely and said, if you can survive, everyone will be promoted to the second level in the future. As soon as the voice fell, several soldiers suddenly shouted in panic, "Enemy attack! Enemy attack!" The sudden shouting made the remaining more than 20 soldiers immediately frightened, and they raised their spears and waited for battle. I saw that the densely packed enemies a few hundred meters outside the city began to attack the town. There are more than 200 people, which is 10 times the number of defenders in the city. The enemy leader, who was far away from the city, looked at the city with a cold look. A town with only more than 200 defenders is so difficult to attack. The loss is huge. I'm afraid that my Dacian tribe will inevitably suffer punishment from the Mythical clan. His eyes were filled with hatred. Chapter 247 Tragic Town. Enemy General Attack. The defenders of this town, with only 200 people, first made me lose 1,000 puppets and 1,000 slave soldiers, but I still couldn't take it. I had no choice but to send my own tribesmen to fight. The loss was so great that the Muzio clan would be angry. If we could take it, it would be fine. If we couldn't take it, the tribe would probably be demoted to slaves. Pass my order. Capture the town and massacre the city. Don't leave a single person alive. The enemy leader shouted angrily. As soon as the voice fell, 200 enemy soldiers wearing leather armor and holding long weapons rushed towards the town in front. For a while, the shouting and killing sounded deafening. At this time, the only remaining defenders in the town had no long-range means. Even if they had bows, they had already used up their arrows. Get up. Meet the enemy. Han Yu held the spear and propped himself up. Seeing the enemy outside the city getting closer and closer, everyone's heart suddenly felt a little desolate. Today, I'm afraid my soul will return to heaven and earth. Hey, look. Suddenly, the soldiers above the town pointed to the south and shouted loudly. Suddenly, a cavalry with the momentum of a dragon came running from the south. The earth shook slightly, and the sound of horse hooves was getting closer and closer. The terrifying momentum instantly attracted the enemy troops who were running towards the town. 500 cavalrymen riding tall horses, holding long bows, rushed at a high speed. The enemy's reinforcement have arrived. Too many. Retreat. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Before the enemy army could react, arrows turned into harvesters of death and accurately shot into the vital points of each enemy. Run away. Don't run. Meet the enemy. Meet the enemy. For a while, the battlefield outside the city was in chaos. The 500 cavalrymen quickly shot corpses all over the ground with their superb archery skills. Change spears. Charge. A cavalry captain shouted. As soon as the voice fell, 500 cavalrymen took out a thunder copper spear, and the tip of the spear was waving with lightning patterns, and the spears reflected dazzling cold light. The sound of horse hooves was dense, shocking like thunder on the ground. The cavalry quickly caught up with them at a speed 10 times faster than the enemy. Seeing the aggressive cavalry chasing behind them, a bunch of enemies were frightened, and their legs softened instantly, and they stumbled and fell to the ground. Then, a spear after a spear accurately pierced the heart of the fallen enemy. Pull hard. Blood rippled in the air. Kill. A cavalry shouted loudly. Then he continued to charge and fight on horseback with a spear. The whole battlefield seemed to have turned into a killing game for the cavalry, and the 200 enemy soldiers were as powerless as mice. In an instant, it was like a mountain crushed by a giant. Seeing that the situation was not good, the enemy leader turned around and ran without hesitation. Thinking back to the tribe warriors who seemed to be wantonly slaughtered by a group of death gods, his heart was like dripping blood. His face was a little desperate for a while. How could this enemy have such a strong warrior? If this army had more than 5,000 people, then the Mythical clan would be dead. It seems that I have to find an opportunity to run with the tribe. Run to the western swamp. Just as the enemy leader was running away and thinking, an arrow whizzed, accompanied by a sharp sound of breaking through the air. The arrow accurately pierced the enemy leader's chest. Bang! The enemy leader fell to the ground immediately, his mouth trembling slightly, blood flowing out of it, and finally he died. Above the town. We survived. Someone murmured in disbelief. Yes, we survived. Qin Yu was excited and shouted in a loud voice. The loud voice was like a bell ringing above everyone's head, waking everyone up. Let those who originally thought it was incredible suddenly wake up and find that they really survived. It's General Liu Ming's Dragon Cavalry Battalion. Open the city gate to welcome them. Yes. Captain Han. Ha ha ha. Several people joked excitedly. The cavalry captain under the city looked at the corpses in the city, and his eyes suddenly turned cold. The hateful Mythical clan killed my soldiers and attacked my town. They must pay with blood. Leave 100 cavalrymen to defend the enemy. I will take the rest back to help the general. The cavalry captain looked back at the corpses on the ground and then turned around and left with 400 cavalrymen, leaving 100 cavalrymen. The other 3 cavalrymen who rushed to the other towns for support also arrived one after another. After killing the enemy, they all chose to leave 100 cavalrymen and lead the remaining cavalrymen back to the big city to help defeat the enemy. After all, one reason was that the generals were furious when they saw their dead comrades. The second reason was that the main force of the enemy was in the big city and there were not many defenders there, so they needed to go back to support them quickly. The big city in the west. At this time, the enemy had attacked the city 3 times, but the big city naturally stood still. This was because the 1,000 dragon cavalrymen led by Yu Ming outside the city would come out to disturb the enemy whenever the enemy attacked. This gave Yu, the chief of the Mythical clan, a headache and resentment. Even if the wooden puppets were deployed, the enemy army actually had arrows that could control lightning. As long as the wooden puppet's head was shot, it could be destroyed and turned into an ordinary piece of wood. We must find a way to stop the cavalry. Mythical frowned and said in the enemy camp. The head of the Mythical clan nodded slightly and said, this time, I brought more than half of the wooden bull puppets in the clan. When you attack the city later, you must use all your strength. I will be responsible for stopping the cavalry outside the city. Remember that there is only one chance to attack. You must attack with thunder and lightning. Quick and agile. Understood. Mythical's round brows loosened immediately. After breaking the city, massacre the city. He said harshly. No. The head of the Mythical clan refused loudly. It is unjust for us to capture and demote them to slaves. Secondly, killing them is too wasteful. Well. Mythical responded softly and then walked out of the tent. Whether to kill or not depends on his mood. After several attacks, he suffered heavy losses and was in a bad mood. Mythical was dressed in iron armor and had a particularly burly figure. He had an iron sword on his waist and looked very fierce. He was a killer. Soon, a dull and melodious horn sounded from the enemy camp. The dense puppet army began to rush to the big city ahead. Behind the puppet army were thousands of slaves with exposed skin, and finally the affiliated tribes of the Mythical clan. The total number of troops reached 8,000. Including the puppets, the number exceeded 15,000. Behind them were the 500 totem warriors of the Mythical clan. They were dressed in iron armor and held iron weapons. They were the most elite soldiers. Led by Qin Yu himself, they rushed to the big city ahead. For a moment, looking at the terrifying number of troops, the city in front of him seemed to tremble, as if it would be knocked down by this majestic momentum in an instant. Yuming looked at the enemy army that had already launched an attack and immediately led 1,000 cavalrymen and rushed over swiftly like a sharp knife. Chapter 248 Killing the enemy with a sword? Exclamation mark. Release the wooden ox puppets. The head of the Multi-sequential clan had been secretly watching the cavalry outside the city. When he saw the other party suddenly rush out and run towards the attacking army, the head of the Multi-sequential clan hurriedly issued an order to stop them. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of wooden puppets shaped like oxen suddenly rushed out from the Multi-sequential camp. The speed was not fast, but it was not much different from that of war horses. Thousands of wooden ox puppets ran wildly at the same time, and their strong limbs pounded on the ground. The sound of vibration was as terrifying as an earthquake. The 1,000 wooden ox puppets rushed up a burst of flying sand and mist, and headed straight for the dragon cavalry outside the city. Yuming, who was hundreds of meters away, glanced at the direction where the thousands of wooden ox puppets were running, and then immediately said in a deep voice, "Rein in the horses. Turn around. Shoot thunder copper arrows, guerrilla tactics." With Yuming's order, the 1,000 cavalrymen instantly reined in their horses in unison, then slowly turned around and ran in the opposite direction. As the cavalry ran backwards, they turned sideways and pulled out a copper lightning arrow and put it on the ox horn bow in their hands. As the cavalry's thoughts and consciousness constructed the lightning power in the arrows instantly burst out with a near-blasting electric current sound. Release. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Arrows carrying violent lightning power were shot out by the ox horn bow. Cutting through the sky, the momentum made Yaori temporarily avoid the edge. Bang, bang, bang. The fierce lightning arrows instantly blasted the wooden ox puppets to pieces. At the moment, when these wooden ox puppets were blown to pieces, the sorcerers hiding in the camp who were controlling these wooden oxen made a dull sound, and then spit out a trace of blood from the corners of their mouths. Let the wooden ox puppets disperse and surround them, delay time as much as possible, and prevent them from disrupting the siege army. While observing the situation on the battlefield, the head of the Multi-sequential clan ordered the sorcerers in the back to control the wooden ox puppets to stop the cavalry. On the battlefield in front, Yuming led the cavalry to roam around, relying on the speed of the war horses that was faster than the wooden ox puppets, playing the tactic of retreating when the enemy advances and advancing when the enemy retreats. Countless arrows poured over as time passed, and half of the 1,000 wooden ox puppets were broken in less than 20 minutes. But at this time, the defense of the city was not so optimistic. The remaining 1,000 spearmen and 1,000 archers in the city relied on the ability of Thunder Copper to strike from a distance to suppress the puppets and slaves, and had no chance to get close to the city wall. However, no matter how powerful they could not withstand the large number of enemies. The Thunder Copper arrows were used up, and the lightning power in the Thunder Copper spears was almost exhausted. Therefore, the momentum of the defenders in the city suddenly weakened by half, and the enemy's attack was consumed after several rounds, and this time it was the most fierce one. Soon, the sparse puppet army and slave army were the first to climb the city wall, followed by the affiliated tribal army and the warriors of the Witchcraft clan with better equipment and more elite combat power. Kill. Li Tongwei, who was guarding the city, was tall and strong, holding a huge thunder copper axe in both hands. He was born with supernatural power, and he was also a strong man who had awakened his physical spirit. Looking at the 6 slave soldiers who surrounded him, Li Tongwei roared and frightened the 6 people's necks. Then 2 axes whistled fiercely, causing a strong wind to blow, and the dull sound of breaking through the air resounded in the ears of several people. Then, several heads revealing fear rolled to the ground in an instant. Die. A tribal leader of a tribe affiliated with the Multi-sequential clan came over with 10 warriors from the tribe. Kill you, and you will be rewarded. The tribal leader was actually waving a black iron hammer, and the 10 warriors behind him were mostly bone tools, with a few wooden spears. Master Tongwei, we are here to help you. Soon, 5 soldiers holding thunder copper spears hurried quickly, formed a gun formation and gradually approached the enemy. Li Tongwei laughed and said, "Leave the big fool with the hammer to me, and you can kill the rest." After that, Li Tongwei swung 2 copper axes and killed them. As soon as he realized it, violent lightning patterns suddenly emerged on the axe blades, and a sharp electric current sounded around. Be careful. The opponent's totem power is obviously extraordinary. A trace of fear flashed in the eyes of the enemy leader. At the same time, he swung the hammer to block it. Bang! A huge sound of metal clashing sounded, and the moment it hit the copper axe, the enemy leader suddenly froze, and the hammer in his hand fell to the ground, and a huge force hit his feet. Just as the sound of pain was about to sound, a big axe swept past, and a bloodline suddenly appeared in the air, and a head fell instantly. Such bravery immediately frightened the surrounding enemy troops to retreat. Ha ha ha. Kill. Li Tongwei became more and more courageous as the battle progressed. With a loud shout, 2 axes carried domineering lightning, chopping the surrounding enemy troops to retreat step by step, and the ground was full of broken limbs and flesh. Although the puppet army and the slave army seized the city wall, they did not last long before they were all killed. However, it also consumed a lot of the defenders in the city. Although the later affiliated tribal army was more powerful than the former, under the leadership of Li Tongwei's strong personal combat power, they were also killed, and their morale was almost broken. Seeing that the originally shaky city was about to be captured, Li Tongwei stabilized the situation again with his own strength. Mu Kui was anxious under the city, and quickly climbed up the city wall with 500 ironclad totem warriors. Mu Kui, who was full of evil spirit, jumped from the siege ladder to the city wall. As the chief of the Mythical clan, his martial arts naturally need not be said much. After practicing totems for many years, he has already entered the extraordinary stage. Seeing this fierce man leaping up, the surrounding defenders suddenly felt that he was not simple. A dozen soldiers holding long spears tacitly planned to use their numbers to bully the few. Charge. A spear sergeant roared, and everyone held long spears, and the tips of the spears emitted a flash of lightning, which made Mu Kui narrow his eyes slightly. He suddenly mobilized the power of the totem under his feet, jumped up to the sky with a slight jump, and then threw the black iron sword in his hand. A grey-white power was infused into the black iron sword. The dark and deep black iron sword seemed to come alive, and it could actually fly straight to the necks of a group of soldiers. Puff. In the blink of an eye, 4 or 5 heads were chopped off by the black iron sword, and Mu Kui slowly fell to the ground, and with a wave of his right hand, the sword flew back to his hand. Looking at the shock and fear in the eyes of the enemy in front of him, Mu Kui couldn't help but sneer in his heart. The way of totem lore is profound and unfathomable. The method of controlling the sword to kill the enemy just now is nothing more than one of the uses of the puppet totem body spirit. He has practiced for decades and is well versed in it. His combat power is naturally extraordinary, which is also the reason why he dares to climb the city wall. Chapter 249. Changes in the battle situation. Even in the midst of thousands of troops, he could still kill the enemy's general and retreat alone. Old thief. Come and die. Li Tongwei was shocked when he saw such a fierce man. He was afraid that the surrounding soldiers would suffer heavy losses, so he hurriedly picked up 2 thunder copper axes and killed them. You are looking for death. Mu Kui was furious after hearing this. He jumped with his legs full of power. The whole person rushed towards Li Tongwei like a cannonball. The black iron sword in his hand suddenly flashed with grey-white light and chopped straight forward. Bang! Li Tongwei raised his 2 axes high and used his arms to block the swords that were chopped. The huge force made his 2 arms numb in an instant, and the whole person was forced to step back a meter away from the shield. Good weapons. Mu Kui was surprised when he saw that the 2 axes did not even leave a gap after being chopped by the totem power he infused. At the same time, the 500 totem warriors of the Mythical clan under the city began to swarm up the city wall. Li Tongwei looked at them with fear. He knew in his heart that if he continued to defend the city wall, the losses would be heavy. After thinking for a moment, he immediately decided, everyone retreat to the city, use the buildings to delay the enemy, and wait for reinforcement. Yes. As soon as the voice fell, the defenders on the city wall withdrew from the city wall like a flood. After getting off the city wall, Li Tongwei led the remaining more than 1,000 people into the building area. Those who have physical strength should follow me to delay the enemy, and those who are weak and injured should take medicine as soon as possible to treat their injuries and find a hidden place to recover their physical strength. As soon as the voice fell, more than 1,000 people quickly made a count, and in the end, there were about 700 people who could continue to fight. Li Tongwei glanced at the crowd and then said, "Captain Wang Ling, you take 100 people to occupy the East City Gate. You must defend it. If the reinforcement from Langcheng come, open the city gate immediately to lead the army into the city to defeat the enemy." "I understand." Wang Ling responded in a deep voice, and then took 100 people from the team and rushed to the East City Gate. As the West City Wall was lost, the West City Gate was soon opened by the enemy. More enemies rushed into the city. There were as many as 4,000 or 5,000 people. Li Tongwei led the remaining 600 people and divided them into more than 100 teams. They began to hide in the construction area, fighting with the enemy while waiting for reinforcement. Since Yu joined the battlefield with a group of 500 totem warriors, the casualties of the defenders increased at a terrifying rate. There were screams and shouts everywhere, and miserable howlings everywhere. Corpses were scattered all over the city, blood dyed the props in the city red, and broken limbs and flesh piled up in the corners. The whole city turned into purgatory. Those who surrendered were killed, and those who did not surrender were tortured. Yu listened to and felt the screams of the enemy, as if satisfying some kind of fetish in his heart, and the whole person became enjoyable. The original 600 people slowly decreased. 500, 400, 300. In fact, there would be more. Many soldiers who had been hiding to recover their strength heard the roars of their companions, and they were angry and came out with their weapons. Many were injured and walked out with a broken body to fight the enemy desperately. The defenders suffered heavy casualties and were defeated. Li Tongwei was covered in blood, and he had chopped off countless enemy heads with his 2 axes. Although he was fierce, he was also the most hated. At this time, he had dozens of wounds on his body, bleeding, and his limbs were sore and weak, and numb. "You go to the East City, and you must guard the city gate with the remaining defenders. I will buy time for you. Captain, you are seriously injured. We will carry you over," the soldiers around him said with bloodshot eyes and excited expressions. "This is an order. Everyone obey the military order," Li Tongwei shouted in a deep voice. After a while, the remaining more than 80 people rushed towards the direction of the East City Gate. They had been fighting with thousands of enemy troops in the city for 3 hours. Yuming was still wandering outside the city with his cavalry. He looked anxious. Although he could not see the situation in the city at this time, he could foresee that it would definitely not be much better. The thunder copper arrows on the cavalry had been used up, and on one side, the wooden ox blocked them. Ordinary arrows had no effect at all, and close combat was even more unprofitable. Not to mention that the nearby city gates were occupied by the enemy, and the losses of the cavalry rushing the city gates were unimaginable. "Damn it! Attack the main camp." Yuming's anger instantly burst out from his chest. He roared angrily and then gave an order to lead more than 1,000 cavalry to rush towards the enemy's camp. Of course, this was not a decision he made in a fit of anger. The previous one was blocked by the wooden ox, and the situation in the city was anxious, so he didn't think of this. Just now, while thinking, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration in his mind and thought of the strategy of encircling Weni to save Zhao mentioned by the patriarch. These wooden oxen are slow and clumsy, and there must be someone behind them controlling them. As long as the person controlling them is eliminated, this battle can be broken. And the operator is unlikely to attack the city, so it is very likely that he is in the enemy's camp. Moreover, it is impossible for the commander of an army to personally attack the city head. It is more likely that he is in the camp. As long as the cavalry surrounds it, there will be gains, and the enemy troops in the city will also withdraw some to come to support. Therefore, after thinking for a moment, Yuming gave an order, and angrily, with a majestic momentum, led 1,000 cavalrymen like a sharp knife, piercing the enemy camp in the west. In the camp, the head of the Muzio clan was shocked when he saw that the enemy cavalry was actually rushing to the camp. Not good. "Quick, tell the front army to return to the camp, and the rest of the people hide," the head of the Muzio clan exclaimed, and the people around him immediately looked outside the camp. I saw more than 1,000 cavalrymen rushing towards the camp with great momentum, and the sound of horse hooves came from far away, trampling on the ground, rumbling. Chief, what should I do? The faces of several sorcerers suddenly became panicked. Mobilize the wooden ox to stop them. I have sent people to call the front army back to defend. No, Chief. The wooden ox is much slower than the horse. By the time the wooden ox arrives, we will have been trampled into mud by the cavalry. Run. The cavalry arrived in the blink of an eye. After a scream, many sorcerers fled in all directions. The wooden ox that was chasing outside the camp also stopped immediately. Because many sorcerers were so focused on escaping at this time, they could not distract themselves to control the wooden ox puppet. At this time, Yu Ming led the cavalry to trample the camp. The charge of thousands of cavalry instantly submerged the camp. Sharp spears pierced and killed the fleeing sorcerers one by one. Tell me, who is the commander of this camp? Yu Ming drove the horse, leaned over and grabbed a sorcerer by the neck, and lifted him up. Mercy, mercy. Answer my question. It's our chief. The sorcerer who was being pinched in his hand spoke with difficulty. Chapter 250. Reinforcement arrive. The situation has turned. Who is your clan leader? Point him out. Yu Ming shouted. The sorcerer was so scared that he quickly pointed in the direction of a tent. Crack. As soon as the sorcerer finished speaking, Yu Ming twisted his neck. How can I let you, or thief, live? After cursing inwardly, Yu Ming led dozens of cavalrymen to the direction the man just pointed. Are you the clan leader of the Muzao clan? Yu Ming led the cavalrymen to surround the man in front of him. The man was about 30 years old, wearing a linen shirt, and there were two strange colorful lines on his face. He had an upright figure, a ruddy complexion, and an indescribable aura. Even if he was not the clan leader of the Muzao clan, his status would definitely not be low. Seeing that the other party had not spoken, Yu Ming immediately had an idea in his mind. Tie him up and take him away. Everyone prepare to evacuate. As soon as the voice fell, two cavalrymen dismounted and took out a bundle of thick hemp ropes to tie up the man on the ground. Several cavalrymen who were delivering orders quickly gathered the cavalrymen who were killing people in anger and regrouped. Retreat. Yu Ming shouted loudly, and then he rode his warhorse and led a group of cavalrymen to withdraw from the enemy's camp. There were less than 1,000 troops left in the entire camp. After this occupation, only one tent survived, and the tents were full of corpses. At this time, an army of 1,000 people rushed back from the city, and just happened to see a blood-soaked cavalryman rushing out of the camp in front. Yu Ming was stunned. You wanted to fight the cavalry with just 1,000 people. You are too brave. Free archery. Yu Ming shouted, and took out an ox horn bow from his back. Although the thunder copper arrows were used up, there were still many ordinary arrows. The power of this ox horn bow, when pulled to a full moon, can penetrate leather armor and iron armor. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The dense rain of arrows turned into a huge net that covered the sky and fell towards the enemy. The enemy looked at the rain of arrows like a dark cloud above their heads. Their faces were filled with fear, their morale plummeted, and they had begun to flee and collapse. Arrows fell like a fierce rain, and countless enemies slowly fell down after being shot. On the battlefield, wailing was heard everywhere, and more than 1,000 people soon lost 60% to 70%. Seeing this, Yu Ming led more than 1,000 cavalrymen to rush over directly. The cavalry turned into a sharp knife and killed the enemy troops who came to support them. More than 1,000 enemies were lost in just a few rounds in the blink of an eye. Mu Kui, who was in the city, was even more shocked when he saw the scene outside while standing on the city wall. This cavalry is so fierce. There are only 3,000 or 4,000 troops left in the city. If you rashly go out of the city to meet this cavalry, you will not be able to get anything good. Moreover, looking at the desolate camp full of corpses, he estimated that the patriarch had died under the enemy's spear. Send a signal and ask for help. If we defend this big city, the cavalry outside the city can't do anything to us. Mu Kui stared at the cavalry outside the city coldly, saying, yes, big leader. The sorcerer next to him slowly took out a wooden bad puppet from his arms, wrote the request for help on the animal skin, and then tied it up. Fly. Fly back to Muzao City. He threw the two wooden birds into the sky. With their wings spread, the wooden birds instantly flew 100 meters high and flew towards the direction of Muzio City. After the battle, Yuming led the cavalry to the city. "Bring up the patriarch of the Muzio clan." Yuming shouted loudly and immediately attracted the people in the city to look over. I saw a man who was tied up tightly being escorted up by 2 cavalrymen. "It's really the patriarch," someone shouted in surprise. On the city wall, Mukui looked at the figure under the city and his face was stunned. "Things are getting tricky." He frowned and sighed. "Big leader, it's really the chieftain. We have to find a way to save him." 2 members of the Muzio clan beside Mukui who were of high status spoke anxiously. Mukui glanced at the 2 and then said calmly, "Let's see what they say first." After a moment, Yuming shouted loudly, "Retreat outside the city, and I will return the chieftain of the Muzio clan to you. Don't hurt our chieftain." "We retreat." The 2 members of the clan beside Mukui hurriedly said. "We can't retreat." Mukui said angrily. How could these 2 ignore him and directly agree to the enemy? "Are you too stupid? If we retreat outside the city, can our 4,000 people stop the enemy's cavalry?" 4,000 people. It's not that we can't resist. We still have puppet troops to stop the cavalry. Mukui frowned and said unhappily, "I said we can't retreat. The clan leader has the highest achievements and the strongest ability among all the clan leaders. Think about it, when we fled from the western swamp to the grassland. Without the clan leader, how could we be here today? Retreat. Even if the witch came in person, the result today would not have changed." Mukui's face was red with anger, but he finally compromised. "The prestige of this Muzio clan leader is too high, second only to the witch. Otherwise, he would not have been able to contradict the clan elders before, and the relationship between the witch and the clan leader is not bad. If he really disagrees today, he will inevitably be punished by the witch when he returns." After a moment, he gritted his teeth and said, "Let's retreat. Tell everyone to gather at the west gate and prepare to retreat. Delay as much time as possible." At the end, Mukui whispered another sentence. "The signal for help has been sent out. If we can hold out until the reinforcement arrive, then things will be more stable." At this time, more than 1,000 meters east of the western border city, a densely populated cavalry was rushing westward. 800 wolf cavalrymen wearing bronze armor and long swords on their waists and 3,000 dragon cavalrymen were rushing to the western border city. In addition, the cavalrymen who had previously supported the other towns were also rushing back quickly. A total of 5,000 cavalrymen are about to arrive on the battlefield. The enemy would never have thought that delaying time would soon drag them to death. What was waiting was not reinforcement, but a huge and powerful mass of elite cavalry. East Gate. The remaining defenders, less than 100 in number, relied on the city gate to resist the enemy's attack. Originally there were more than 18,000 people, but now there were only more than 70 people. The road in front of the city gate was covered with corpses. There were enemies and defenders. None of them surrendered. The huge predicament oppressed their consciousness, but every time they were depressed, they thought of the sacred and majestic king's tripod, and they thought of the great leader who loved his people and soldiers. They wanted to fight for this, fight for beauty, and fight for the faith in their hearts. Hey, why did they retreat suddenly? Just when everyone was ready to fight to the death, the enemy army, which was originally so aggressive, retreated like a tide. A captain shook his head. He couldn't understand, but fortunately, they did not disappoint the deadly Tangwei. They held on and survived. Listen. That's the sound of cavalry hooves and the howling of wolves. It's reinforcement. The reinforcement have arrived. Everyone climbed up the city wall excitedly and looked towards the east. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.